Good evening. Hi, I'm Nikki, and I am the co-host for Paranormal PWA Chat. And with me this evening is I have lovely Insane Joe, and I have Nick Muley from Chicago. Nick, anything you want to add?
Oh, I got to just say, this is, it's good to once again have the basically second show in a row. I got to admit. I mean, I know we've done a couple others, but, I know you said for a while you just wanted to kind of do it like every once in a while. But now starting to see the show become a lot more active, it's really great to see that. So, and of course, also, what better way to do a show like this also right before the 4th of July, of course.
So happy 4th of
Oh
July,
hell,
everybody.
yeah! Don't remind me.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I
ready. I'm not ready yet.
know.
I've been so busy this week. Because we traveled to Michigan, and did I tell you that? I go to Michigan to go to a dispensary. I pull up, and it's like you can't go in the building. It's all like come out to your car, and they talk to you, ask you what you want, and they bring it out to you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm out
Yeah.
there, and you know what my truck looks like.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we're out there, and this woman just all of a sudden comes running up to my truck as fast as her little legs can carry her. Oh, I'm a big fan of yours. I watch your show all the time. And it's like, oh
Oh,
my God, I couldn't believe that.
I actually remember that. In fact, I remember you told me that a long time ago.
No,
Yeah.
this just happened Tuesday.
Oh, this was on Tuesday. Okay. I remember. I remember you said something like that a long time ago with
I
somebody
might have
else.
said something. I might have said something on Fear Fans because I came on for a little bit. I didn't watch the movie, but I was on it on Fear Fans
Yeah.
for Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
it's going
It's
on.
been hot over here too, Irene.
Yeah,
No, we're cold. We're
Yeah.
freezing.
I was gonna say. I heard you guys are cold over there.
I got to be very
Uh,
careful in this heat. I'd
yeah,
imagine
we're like 18 at the moment.
you got to be careful too, don't you, Nick?
Yeah. Well,
Some
it's funny
of
you
the
met.
medical stuff, you got to be
Yeah.
careful in this heat.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I don't know if I ever told you guys. I actually do have a swimming pool in the backyard,
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah, well, it's an in-ground one too. Wait, let's see who just. Oh, it's Chris.
You got it. We got Chris.
Hey, Chris,
Sorry,
how
I
you
was on time.
doing? Good to see you.
You're on Nick
Um,
time.
I
How's
Yeah.
was
that
on
work?
night time. That's
how-
why I was late.
How's that working for you, Chris?
I was late.
No,
Not as late as he usually is, but I was late.
it's
but
all
anyways,
good.
yeah. I mean, normally, yeah, usually we would have our swimming pool like open by now in the backyard, but unfortunately, um, we had to delay it for a variety of reasons. One
Oh, that
is,
sucks.
well, it's for some pretty important reasons. I mean, to begin with, you know, my I'm not going to say too much about it, but my dad still thinks he can work on the pool and stuff, but my dad is 67 years old now.
Ah,
So, it's he's getting to that age where working on the pool because it's one of those pools where it's shallow on one
Mhm.
side and then it's like 20 almost 30 feet deep down. So there's like a deep
that,
end and
that's
yeah.
that's a big pool because when I was a kid, and that was before you were itching your daddy's pants. But
Me too.
when I
I
was
wasn't born
a kid,
either.
the deep end was like 12 to 13 feet deep at the deepest.
Yeah.
The shallow end would be like, 2.5, and then you go down to 12 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, see that's but like I said with our pool, we had to delay it not just only because of his age, but honestly, and this is actually something I do want to say obviously in the serious sense.
No.
Um and I know none of you guys are going to know who this is, but I'm just asking. I haven't. You guys are the first to actually for me to say about. I'm asking for prayers right now
Mhm.
because. Oh, hello, Pam. I think I have we seen her before. I can't
Hey,
remember.
man.
Or
Hi, Pam. I don't know who you are, but hi, Pam.
Hey,
Tampa
man.
committee. Anyways, I'm asking for a lot of prayers right now because our next door neighbor He's actually in the hospital right now. He had suffered a traumatic head injury, and long story short, it was involving. I can't remember the whole thing. It was involving a baby bird that he had, and he was trying to put it back into its nest or something like that. And I don't know if he had to climb up or something to get to it, but next I knew, he fell and he hit his head on the concrete. So
Oh,
yeah, and he had to get emergency brain surgery. And as of right now, as we speak, he is currently in a coma, and we really don't know what the outcomes are going to be. I've been asking my parents almost every day about it. So again, I know you guys don't know who this is, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of
please,
great things.
please send prayers for him, because he's married, he's a father. He has two kids, one of which who just recently graduated from middle school. So
Yeah.
regardless of the fact, they could definitely use all the prayers they can get, you know, especially for their dad, because it's not looking good for him. And so that's another reason why our pool is not open either. Is my dad's also trying to be a lot more careful so he doesn't end up following the
Yeah.
same fate.
Yeah, I get it.
Some prayers with his
right?
family.
And well, you know what? Actually, now that I think about what Pam just said, I think I've actually do remember Pam Wellington. I think it's
Yeah.
just been such a long time. So what's been going on with you, Chris?
Fixing
Nothing,
glasses.
nothing since I've last talked to everybody. Really,
Yeah.
just
Uh,
job hunt.
yep. Nikki, did you say you already got a hold of Robert? Do you want me to reach out to him myself?
Um, I have reached out to him. He said he may be a little bit late because I know over east, they've had really bad weather, a
Oh,
lot of
really?
flooding and stuff like that. They had a mini cyclone tornado off
Oh,
the
really?
coast of Queensland and stuff like that. So yeah, he may not be able to make it. So
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, I hope he's doing okay out there. So, Robert, please be safe out there.
Yeah, Robert.
oh, that was not creepy at all.
Tom
Hey,
and
Tom.
Nikki.
So yeah,
Us,
just give us a thumbs up, mate. Just let you
Tom's
know that
like
you're
us old folks. He meant to say folks, not jokes. Us old folks and ladders don't mix.
I
Yeah,
climbed up in
I
my
honestly really.
shed like 2 weeks ago, put something on the top. My knee
Mhm.
hurt for like 3 days from climbing that damn ladder.
Oh, really?
Did nothing. Just
What were
climbed
you
up there.
climbing? What were you climbing up a ladder for?
To put something on top of the shed, in the top of the shed. It has like uh, whatever. I call it the attic of the shed.
Mhm.
Kind of more like the roof. It sounds like.
Yeah. Well, it's like I don't know how to describe it. Like a loft,
Or
kind
like a
of a
lot.
loft area inside the shed where you can store extra stuff.
Am I hearing
Do you
like
have?
crackling in the background? I can't tell who's.
I'm eating Rice Krispies. No, I'm kidding.
No.
That's mine.
I'm
I'll
gonna
turn it
check
off.
which. I'm
I'm
gonna check
kidding.
on the mics which one. It sounds like it's not coming from you, Chris. So, okay, Joe, it's not his. He already muted. Oh, it's coming from Nikki. Yeah, Nikki, I think it's coming from yours. I did. Mike.
There we go.
Yeah, it's. I'm not sure where the crackling is coming from.
Yeah, that was me. I grind my teeth, so it
No,
might be
it's
the
something. It's more
bad
like
habit.
it's more like sound interference.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, geez, that was even louder. Here, I'll take you out just for just a second, then I'll bring you right back.
I'm still hearing
That's
it. Okay,
yeah,
now
because I just muted it. So let's see if we can bring her back in. Oh, sorry, that was my fault. Oh, jeez. Okay. Trying to think of another idea. The only other idea I could think of, Nikki, is oh wait, she muted herself. Okay, I was gonna say I thought it was gone.
if you have something close by providing feedback.
It might be. I'm not entirely sure, but it is causing some kind of sound interference.
Yep. Worse than mine when you hear the fan running.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I know the
Yes,
fans.
Joe, it does.
Hang on.
Oh wait. I don't hear it anymore.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, you're good now.
It gets really warm in here. That fan will kick in really high on this computer.
Really?
Yeah,
And I don't even have the mic on yet.
that's really bizarre that it was making all this crackling, but you sound good now.
That's weird. I'm not moving. I'm going to stay here. I'll do my stuff as I did before.
So Nick, I was going to ask you. I mean, I know I probably asked this last week, but you got anything coming up as far as investigations or anything?
Yeah, so we've got. Hang on, mic crackle for a sec. I'm opening a drawer. Okay. So we've got an investigation down in Brookton, which is about 3 to 4 hour drive ish. We're doing a hairdresser salon, so they've asked us to come down and investigate that. So it'll be interesting. Our very first hair studio.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that is that the first time or that you guys are going to this one, or is this one that you guys been to previously?
Sorry.
So a lovely lady reached out to us on our Paranormal Perth page and was like, "Hey, we're having this activity. Would you guys want to come down?" I'm like, "Okay, cool." So yeah, we're coming down to investigate. There'll only be myself, Darren, and one other investigator because it's really, really small. And then investigating that for a few hours, and then August the 2nd, we're investigating York. That's one of the most haunted locations in WA. We'll be going there again, and then we'll be doing 2J a week after.
Nice.
So, yeah, this
Sounds like
month
a
is
really
going
good
to
plan.
be
What was
busy.
that, Chris? Wait,
I would
so
say nice.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a busy week. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the third. I'm looking forward to all of them, but I think the most paranormal side of it would be 2J and also York. So they're the most haunted locations in WA. So.
we got well, this is the I'm finally going to be going back on an investigation for the first time in over in a year and a half, which Joe, I'm sure you've been notified about it. Is we got the Old Lake County Jail investigation coming up. That's going to be on July 26th, and it's been about 2 years or so since I've been to the jail, so it'll be great to be officially back to it.
Behave yourself.
What's that?
Behave yourself, and you wouldn't go at all.
Don't drop it.
Where's that at?
That's going to be in Crown Point, Indiana.
Yeah, I remember.
Only a 15-hour drive for me. I'll meet you there.
Wow.
I
Well, in
remember,
addition,
I remember seeing something about it.
yeah, Jeremy's been sending reminders about it recently.
Yeah, it's too far for me to drive this time around
Yeah, I figured.
because we
Oh,
just,
I would definitely.
we just went to Michigan, and the one time what was it, last year we went to Michigan, we drove through Indiana, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and it's like, I don't know if we want to do that again. You know,
Yeah, some of the highways can get pretty tricky at times, especially with all the highway traffic.
Yeah.
well, I get a little fearful because people are driving, trying to, at the same time they pull out their cell phones while they're driving, trying to take pictures of my truck now.
Oh,
So it's
really?
like,
No, that's
they're
right.
taking pictures and not watching the road. That's a little scary.
Yeah, that kind of is.
Please don't do that. Joke's like, we like the photo of the car, but we don't want you to crash, so please.
Yeah, we don't need to crash into the car yet. It's not even paid for.
Well, in addition to the investigation, we, like the aforementioned investigation. Now, Joe, I don't know if you were going to be going out to this, but July 18th to the 20th, we also have the I guess, the event called Paranormal Rockdown that's going to be in Broadhead, and
Yeah,
that's that
I'll,
sounds like something Tom and I are going to be attending too. So
I'll
not
probably go to the event that's like on Saturday.
yeah, because it's a full weekend event. It goes
Yeah,
from Friday to Sunday.
right.
So yeah, so if you're there, that would be great. It'll be great, of course, to see you again.
Saturday because they probably got like I think that's when they got the vendor tables and then the speakers, you know. And I like listening to the when the people speak, you know, like Chad Lewis and some of them other ones. They get up there and speak about their experiences or the locations they've been to or whatever, you
Right,
know.
Mm.
right.
So yeah, I've got it on my calendar. I just haven't made a decision yet.
Oh, that's understandable. I mean, you got a couple weeks, obviously, before.
Well, that and I've got a couple of major family events coming up. Like, well, this Saturday it's like a housewarming party along with the birthday party for my cousin at his new house, and then the first week or weekend of August, my godfather's 90th birthday party. So I got, you know, when a guy gets that old, you got to show up, you know.
That's understandable in some
Well,
way.
yeah, you don't know, so you don't know what, you know, like if they'll have another birthday, you know what I'm saying? Because he's up there in age, and he's the last one of that what I call the family elders. He was
And
the
that
baby,
and that does, in a way, make sense. Yeah.
so he was the baby of the family, so he's the last surviving one of all of his siblings, and there was quite a few of them.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I think there was like 11 of them total. Oh,
Wow.
oh.
that's, yeah. Nick,
Just
so out of all the paranormal movies that you've watched, what would be your favourite?
and I've got a lot of them, but I would have to admit two of them really step out the most. I would say the Amityville horror franchise, because not only is that what do you mean? What's with the thumbs down?
You
The whole
know,
franchise.
all right, you brought that up. I'm going to speak my mind once.
Go right ahead.
Sorry, folks. If you want to diss me, that's okay.
That's okay.
That whole thing. All right. Now, here's the way I feel about the Amityville horror story. All right. The original storyline. It was what was his name? Damn it! I used to know this real good too. But he went
Which
in and
Lex?
he killed his. He no.
Oh, Robert DeFeo Jr.
Yeah, all right. DeFeo Jr. All that shit that he said about, you know, because he was the one that was convicted and did the crime. He killed his siblings and his parents, right?
Yep.
And there was a
Mhm.
lot of, you know, his story changed quite a bit. So you kind of got to read between the lines to know what to believe and what not to believe. But, you know, that story in and of itself is more scary than what the Lutzes did when they moved in and made a lot of that up for the money.
Yep. That's correct.
Okay, all right, because it was all about the money and shit like that pisses me off because the true story, the true crime story, whatever it was, if the guy, you know, because at one time he said I was possessed, at one time he said it was mafia, you know, his story kept changing, but DeFeo was guilty either way.
Yeah. He
They
killed his
proved
entire
that
family.
without a reasonable doubt. All right. But that story, the whole story there gets lost because it never comes out in any of that Amityville series. You
Well,
know,
the closest they've done to it. I don't know if you knew about this, and I actually have a DVD copy of it. For some reason, finding a DVD copy is tough. I think you could probably get it on Blu-ray though. The closest that I've seen for, to, like, in this case, the murders that went on, is contrary to popular belief, because most people would think I'm going to say Amityville 2: The Possession. Not exactly. in 2018, they did actually make a new film, which it does kind of, it kind of does stand sort of like a remake of Amityville 2. But the difference in this one is that they actually stick more true to the story, which that film particularly is called The Amityville Murders. And now,
Okay.
yeah,
I've
now in
never
fact, even though I got a copy of it, funny thing is, I haven't actually watched the movie yet, but when I have a chance, I'm going to. But it sounds like that actually sticks more to the true crime story of what was really going on with the DeFeos.
Right. And see with that much. All right. So you get that real bad crime. These people were killed in cold blood and while they were sleeping.
Yeah,
He had three or four siblings and his parents. You know, that much violence in the house would cause something. Some
yeah.
type, but not the way that the Lutzes made it out to be.
Oh,
Maybe there
absolutely
was
not. No.
something there that was bugging them, and so on and so forth when they moved in, and it spooked them and scared them. But the lawyer and the Lutz's lawyer and the priest that came in, they were all in it for the money.
Yeah,
They even admitted that some of them even admitted that, you know, on their deathbeds, that it was all about the money. You
Yeah.
know, and it's like, that's a bunch of bullshit. People doing that and blowing things way out of proportion just to make a buck.
yeah,
When the true story, they could have embellished the true story of what really happened, because of the way that Ronnie DeFeo said, "Oh, I was possessed at one time," and kind of ran with that theory of him being possessed, and it would have been a better movie in my eyes.
I think so too.
All
But
right, now in my case,
Tom's been to the house actually.
you know, and and you sit there and you get something like The Omen. Now that was a great flick,
Yeah,
and or The Exorcist, where it was based on a true story, but they changed the names and the characters so that it wouldn't destroy the real life person and the real life priests and stuff like that actually performed that exorcism. You know,
see, funny enough, Tom and we've actually, I think I maybe I told you this before, Joe, but Tom and we actually had been to the house in
which
St.
one?
Louis. I mean, not inside the house because to this day it's still
Exorcist house.
the Exorcist house. Yeah, we've been there, although not inside because to this day it's still a residential property. We can
But
only see it from the outside.
see, now those movies like Omen and stuff. Omen was probably based a little on some real uh, story that might have happened and got embellished, but Exorcist did. And
Yeah,
see, that turned out to be a great flick the way they did it. Yeah, because of the time it was made, some of those special effects were obvious, like puking pea soup and all of that, you can tell. But it was a great movie for its time.
right.
The
Well, the
Amityville
reason
movies, I have no use for because they were all about this. I mean,
Well,
I've seen them, but
the main reason why I still do enjoy the Amityville films is because it did, however, had one part for me because, and I've told most of you guys about it, the Amityville horror case was the very first haunted house case I ever studied, at a very young age. And to this, up until a few years ago, I was really trying to uncover the true story of what really went on in that house between the DeFeos, Lutzes, and even to those that, who moved in afterwards.
well,
And if you look, Nick, I mean, and I think I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but one of the first among some of the first episodes I did of the Nick Files, I did a 3-part mini series of Amityville, and the way how I did it was just so well done and organized. Because in the first part one, I was mainly talking about the DeFeos themselves,
right.
and I was even talking about the information I was able to find about their personal lives and whatnot. Then, of course, we get to part two, which is where we did talk, and of course, it ends with the murders. Then we get to part two, and then talk about the legends. Now, at first, I told it the way how it, I'm sure everybody was expecting. But then I had a little trick up my sleeve for part 3. Then we were really going down the business of what really happened. And to this day, Jeremy says that's probably among some of his favorite episodes of my show that I've done on Amityville, because I think I really covered what really happened.
Yeah, see, that's the only one out of all of those. That's the only one that really, really bugged me a lot. You
Yeah,
know, was Amityville, and that's why I was doing this. You know, because
yeah.
it just
Hey, Braxton.
it hit a nerve. But
Hey, Braxton.
I got a question for you. What do you think about the curses in Hollywood?
The curses in Hollywood. Are you talking about like just certain
Like,
events?
the Brandon Lee curse. You know, the curse of Brandon Lee and Bruce Lee.
Oh, those.
You know how they died, the way they died, kind of similar on the sets of what was it? Bruce Lee was Return of the Dragon, I think it was,
Yeah, I
and,
think so.
and Bruce Lee was a crow, or
Right.
not Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee was a crow. You know, or the thing with the Poltergeist movie and that little girl dying during
Yeah,
that.
I talked about that too on Nick Files at one point.
You know, they consider them like Hollywood curses. You know, there's quite a few of them. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. And
Well, I could actually give you guys one example, and I got to look this one. I got to look this one up so I can remember, because it's been a long time. Now, this has nothing to do with Hollywood, but it still does involve a film that was made. It was actually involving a silent film that was made back in the late 1920s, which was a 1929 film called Un Chien Andalou, which was a French silent short film. And what's interesting, it's kind of a bizarre film when you watch it, because unlike most movies, even back then, this movie has no plot in the conventional sense of the word, with disjointed chronology, jumping from the initial once upon a time to 8 years later without events or characters changing. It uses dream logic instead a narrative flow that can be described in terms of the then popular Freudian free association, presenting a series of tenuously related scenes. Now, as far as the cast is concerned, there were 2 cast members that died from this movie. Shortly after, a few years out, one of which was a few years after its release. Next one was about 20 years afterwards. One of the most infamous scenes of this movie, and it probably, I think, is one of the first scenes ever showing any type of gory images on screen, in which involves a woman who they maybe you guys have seen pictures of it. They stretch her eye, and then afterwards they use like a knife or something, and they slice it. Now, what it really was, and of course, obviously, it wasn't a real person. What it really was actually the eye of a dead cat that they were using. And they put light around its face to mimic human skin on its face. That's why it looked so bright. But anyways, going back to the actors, 2 actors passed away from this movie. One was by the name of Pierre Batchet. He was he actually was a French actor of Russian origin, and he died a few years after this movie was released. He died in 1932 at the age of pretty well at the age of 31, and it's said for his death he sorry, I'm just looking. I've scrolled it. It said April 1932. He died from an overdose of drugs, possibly by suicide. So, and then the other actress who died, her name was Simone Marioli. Not sure if I'm saying it right, because it's a French last name. She's the woman that plays the supposed eye cutting scene, and she only did a few movies ever in her career. But it says unfortunately, after World War II, she settled with her mother in Corzac near. Again, I'm not good with these French town names. Paraguay. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but unfortunately, she subsequently fell into a depression after losing her brother, her father, and a missed divorce, and she unfortunately died in a very brutal way. She died by suicide on October 24th, 1954, dousing herself in gasoline and burning herself to death. She set herself on fire. So, two of the most famous actors from this really short film pretty much died, within a number of years after they made this. So, could it be a kind of curse? It's hard to say, but it kind of does in some way, shape, or form relate to like what you're talking about, Joe. Nikki, I'm sorry, the crackling is coming back again.
No, Pete's sake. Hang on. It's all right. It's all good.
Oh, right, it was gone for a second. There you go. Now it's good.
You gotta love technology when it wants to work.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna hold it like this.
Chris, what are your favorite? What would be your top paranormal movies?
Top paranormal movie. Uncle Sam. No, I'm kidding.
Uncle Sam.
Because we just watched it. I'm sorry. God, I was just talking about somebody with this the other night. Paranormal? I like the name Paranormal Activity.
Oh, Paranormal Activity. Okay.
Yeah, those sound footage ones I like. Blair Witch. I like all that kind of stuff. It gets a little bit cheap, but
My favorite was a classic,
Which one is yours, Joe?
Poltergeist.
Oh, Poltergeist.
Yep.
Yeah.
The characters and the casting were brilliant.
Yeah.
And I want to touch back on those curses because out of all the ones that I've read about, there's only one that I believe in the most, and that's the curse of the car, little bastard.
Yeah, the little bastard. I've heard of that one.
Yep, James Dean's car. That's the one he died in.
That's right.
Tragically died
funny enough, Tom and we've been to James Dean's grave.
I mean, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing what's left because I know somewheres in the world, someplace, there's little pieces of little bastard left, but I wouldn't touch the fucking thing.
I wouldn't either.
By French, I'm sorry, I shouldn't swear on your podcast, but I wouldn't touch it at all because people that have just touched that car or transported it and stuff like that have ended in it's ended in a bad demise for them.
Yeah, they say that anybody that touches that car, they're going to die immediately.
Yeah, it's just like the guy bought it one time and was towing it, and the next thing you know, he's not too long after that he's dead.
They're only 24 years old too. He was very young.
Yeah, James Dean at that time he died. He was at the height of his career. I mean, he could have really made a killing in the movies.
I think so. And again, at 24, he still had his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah, and his career was just taking off at that time because he had what was that movie, Rebel Without a Cause?
Yeah, that's correct.
He just got done filming that before he went out racing the car at over 80 miles an hour on some California highway or something.
It's just really weird that to this even over 70 years later, other than the pieces you mentioned, that no one has ever been able to find the car. Like no trace of the car has ever truly been found other than pieces of it.
Yep. And I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
We do have, and they actually did talk about this on what was that series called? It's on the Mysteries at the Museum. We have piece of we have a piece of that car of the little bastard at one
Yeah.
of the museums up in northern Illinois.
Oh,
So
is
we
that where
have
it is? I knew there was a piece of
yeah,
the
it's up
car
in northern
in
Illinois. I
a
can't remember
museum
which museum it
somewhere.
was. Yeah, I can't remember which museum it was, but it's up in northern Illinois. I know that.
I
And of
know
course,
the.
Mm-hmm.
it's in a
I know.
case.
I know that the Ripley's "Believe It or Not" thing up in the Dells.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it still does, but when I visited there, they had a replica of Little Bastard
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Oh
remember
yeah,
that.
on
I've
display.
been to that one too. So yeah, I've
Next,
seen it.
next to like a wax figure, because they got those wax figures, and there was a wax museum up there as well of James Dean standing next to the car.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too about when we visited James Dean's grave, because I know he's buried out in Indiana. We actually stopped when we were on the way over to Mansfield, Ohio last year for Parapsychon, and when we visited his grave, in fact, you could see pictures of it. Obviously, even over 70 years later, his grave is still, being decorated and stuff. And apparently, even after 70 years, too, he still has quite the female admirers because when we went to his grave, I see something on the grave that I couldn't really see exactly what it was. And I was like, at first, I thought maybe it was just like exposure to the elements, like raindrops or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I saw it was more circular. Upon closer inspection, it was lip. Somebody had actually kissed his gravestone with
Oh,
lipstick.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, think about
Yeah,
this. When he died, all right, he was what age did you say he was?
he was
In his
24 years
20s?
old.
All right, so about 10 years later, if he was still alive about 10 years later, I bet Henry Winkler would have never become the Fonz.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, because that guy just oozed cool, you know. I mean, you looked at
Mm-hmm.
him and the guy was just naturally cool, had that cool vibe about him.
He just had that like that kind of high school kind of jock to him, even though he was in his mid 20s already. He still had that appearance.
And Henry Winkler was nothing but a dumb nerd.
Yeah,
I should say
yeah,
a smart nerd, but he was nothing like the Arthur Fonzarelli character, not even close.
right, right.
And it's funny that people would still go down to, and I haven't done it yet because I haven't found it, but they've gone to Milwaukee and taken their picture with the bronze fonts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta say something about it. You guys are gonna love this. This is a funny story. I don't know if Tom's still watching, but Tom can explain this too. But you know how I know you guys have watched it a few times when I've been on it. You guys have seen the show that I'm on Matt TV sometimes, right? With Matt from Canada. You know what I'm
Yep.
talking about?
I do.
Nikki, Joe, have you
Yeah,
watched it
yeah, I
before?
think I have before. Yeah,
He actually was before I tell he actually was very briefly on Things Network with us. I mean, Jeremy offered if you wanted to have Matt on, which would have been our at that time our second show from Canada to be on.
Yeah.
And even though his show is not necessarily paranormal, I mean
Mm-hmm.
obviously it is when I'm on it as a guest. But even though it's not, Jeremy thought it'd be kind of a good idea to kind of take a different direction with a different kind of show. But Matt didn't really stay on for no more than a few months. I think he just wanted to kind of do things independently, which he's really grown over in out in northeastern Canada, primarily New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador. But anyways, we did have the opportunity almost 10 years ago to actually finally meet Matt in person. He came over here to the States along with a friend of his. It was, I think it might have been, I think it was for some kind of meeting or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but actually, no, not 10 years ago, 6 years ago, 2019, that I met him. Um, and he
You're
came
getting
down
old.
he came down to Milwaukee for this meeting, and so because Milwaukee's only like about an hour and 20 minutes away, that was perfect for me and Tom to go up and meet with Matt. Well, we finally meet Matt. It's a fantastic time. And then Matt had the idea of wanting to get a picture of the Font statue in Milwaukee. So we're going down in downtown Milwaukee, and typical like any city, it was hard to find a spot, to park at. Well, we came across this little kind of like a little cul-de-sac, if you will. It was like a little rounded road, or a roundabout, I should say. And we weren't really supposed to park there. But we thought, okay, well, if we just get out of the car, run over, because the statue is like right there. We just think if we just get out of the car, run over to the statue, you know, get our picture, get back to the car, it should be fine. So we go out, and we get the pictures of the Fawn statue, and then literally as we're heading to the back of the car, heading back to the car, all of a sudden there's a meter maid writing a ticket for Tom. And don't get me wrong. I know Tom was frustrated. Don't get me wrong. Deep down, I felt really bad that he got a ticket, but I was laughing so hard. It was like the funniest.
Well, you got to learn. You go to the places in Milwaukee, you got to be careful that they're real quick to ticket you. If
No, they're not like here in Chicago. Definitely
but,
not.
But no matter where I go, I get Rockstar parking.
Yeah.
That's
See,
what
it's like-
I got the disabled tag for the mirror.
Yeah.
So, see, I call that Rockstar parking. You get it? Along
Yep.
there, Rockstar parking.
It's and the entire time when we went to get the statue, I don't think we were gone for no more. Tom was like,
laughing.
Tom wasn't laughing.
Nope, I bet he wasn't. Coming out of his pocket, going out of his pocket.
I couldn't stop. I really did feel bad, but it was just so funny at the time.
Ticket with him?
And I don't think we were gone for no more than maybe like 2 or 3 minutes at most, because we were trying to make it real quick. It's like I've kind of learned now. You can get away with that here in Chicago, but you definitely cannot get away with that in Milwaukee.
Well, that's because what I say. That's because a lot of those people down there, they got more meter maids per capita in Milwaukee than anywhere else in the state. Because Madison, man, I don't know how many times I've illegally parked in Madison, and I was there for more than an hour, and never came out and got a ticket. The only time I ever got a ticket was when I parked at one of those, metered parking things, and I didn't get back to it in time before the, to plug in meter again with quarters before it ran out. So, I mean, I've gotten my share of parking tickets, but not without, it was usually in
That's why I
metered
tracked you
parking.
guys to the safe house. That's right. We also went to the safe house afterwards. And it's also funny too. After that whole situation, when we drove out of there, I don't remember what it was. Remind me, Tom. I think we took a wrong turn or something like that, and we had to go all the way around the downtown area of Milwaukee. And then as we're driving back to where we were, I look over because Tom's driving, obviously, and Matt and his friend, they weren't really paying attention, but something just told me to look out the window. And I look out, and I think it was near like a garage or something like that. That same meter maid was there watching us. I'm like, what's going on here? That meter maid was really keeping an eye on us.
I don't know which one is worse, driving in Milwaukee or driving in Chicago. They both are like the same to me.
Yeah, they're about the same.
All big cities are the same.
No, Madison's not really as bad as you think it is. Madison's the capital. Yeah. And Madison's also where the UW is and the Badgers play and all of that. I mean, if you grew up around Madison, you knew when not to travel anywhere near the downtown area. You stayed away. You stayed away anytime the Badgers were playing at Camp Randall Stadium. and you stayed away during the UW's homecoming, things like that. You knew damn well to stay away from the downtown area. Big events going on, you knew not to go anywhere near that area. I mean, I had to deal with it because I drove cab for a living for a while, but still, you end up learning where not to go and when not to go. But Milwaukee's constantly, it's as bad as Chicago. You got one-way streets going the wrong direction.
Oh, that's what it was. Remember when I tried to park and went through the bank drive-through? That's right. That's what I was trying to remember what it was.
I've done that.
Yeah.
Well, they got a parking ramp and a bank. The bank's next door to a parking ramp, and you enter the parking ramp and you enter the wrong lane. You're in the fucking drive-through for the bank.
that's
I tried
like
to
okay.
one time, and they were like this. And the
Well,
parking garage was here, and the bank ramp was right here. And I kept the wrong one.
Oh, wow.
I go in, I come around, I did it like 3 times in a row. Kept bringing them up with myself, but I was just like, God, this is annoying.
Well, come to think of it now, I think that's because now that Tom said that, I think it's coming back to me now. I think that's when we saw the meter maid.
The meter maid.
One's been like, doo-doo-doo.
They're horrible extremes, Nick.
Well, see,
Doo-doo-doo.
with the Rockstar parking and the way my truck looks, nobody really screws with us anymore.
Yeah, there you go. So you probably got the Rockstar truck now too.
Well, yeah, when you got it at first glance, it looks like a police. Still it looks like the squad car, the police interceptor.
Yeah.
And it's people see that, and then the next thing you know, they're out taking pictures or coming up asking
While they're
questions.
driving.
I can get away with parking in some pretty strange places sometimes.
What was I going to say? There was something else I was going to say. Actually, this is in regards once again to your earlier question too, Kate. That's with Kate. I almost called you Kate. Nikki, I'm sorry. It's been a long day for me today.
So good.
Another film I could think of, by the way, from earlier, as far as paranormal stuff is, paranormal films are concerned. This one I really like a lot is also, and it's all like I said, it's also from the '70s. Burnt Offerings.
Must have been a B title.
I don't remember that. I like the story
It
as
has
well.
it's got a pretty good cast. I mean, like Karen Black is in it, and so is oh my God, why can't I remember? All right, I'm gonna have to.
Google.
It's been a long time, so I'm gonna have to look up. But it's got some pretty big names. I mean, the best way I can describe that film is that.
Yes, he does, Tom. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Wait, what did Tom say? Nick always has long days. Yes, I do. The best way I can describe this film is that it's really, truly that haunted house film that came out in the '70s before the Amityville Horror. But the difference, of course, is compared to Amityville is that this is not based on a true story. Yeah, it's got Karen Black, Oliver Reed, Betty Davis, and Lee H. Montgomery, and along with Eileen Heckard, Burgess Meredith, and Anthony James. So it's kind of got somewhat of a.
I know who Burgess Meredith is.
Yeah, it's got kind of like a somewhat ensemble cast. It's got all the
Penguin.
in it.
Yeah, he was the original Penguin. That's
Yep,
right.
That's
Or
right.
Rocky's coach.
Yeah, Mickey.
Yep.
Yep.
Just the way how they
Oh.
portray.
And he was also in Clash of the Titans, the original
right, yeah,
Clash
he's
of
in
the
Clash of the
Titans movie.
That's right.
The original one.
Yeah, the original
One
one.
from the '80s.
Yeah.
Nick, I know this is a really random question. What's your advice for people that are going to investigate not to eat?
Not to eat. Oh man.
Chili food.
Cockroaches.
Well, we all know that you can't eat.
I don't know. They have chocolate covered cockroaches in some places.
Yep, I'm good. I don't eat.
People that don't know,
I do not eat those.
if I see some of those at the Uranus Fudge Factory, if I see
We'll
some,
send
I'll buy
one.
a box and send them to you, Nick.
I'll make
Nice.
sure to throw them in the fire then. Uh,
Oh,
Bob
Lord.
here says kangaroo. Kangaroo?
You know, the one thing.
Yeah, don't eat Skippy.
No, I got it right here. It even has some superstition because if you eat it, it's like it's superstition. Okay,
Mm, yeah,
you don't want to
don't
eat
eat Skippy.
crow.
Vegemite.
Crow?
Crow,
Yeah,
as in the blackbird
Yeah, like the
crow,
black bird. Yeah.
for
because
yeah.
you're eating another person's possible soul. Some
That
people
is
Same
true.
believe,
with magpies.
you
Yeah,
know. So that was a good one for you, Nikki. An
Yeah.
answer.
yeah,
Considering crows are known to feast on carcasses and even
yeah,
some
true.
varying degree, even dead bodies.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they
mm-hmm.
also some people in some faiths,
Aboriginal.
some
Yeah,
religion faiths, they believe that crows will carry off the person's soul to the afterlife.
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Because I
mean,
know
that's
over here, the indigenous people believe that magpies, if you see a group of magpies, it's your spirit guide coming through to protect you. So,
but that actually
yeah.
leads. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nikki. Go ahead.
That's it. So I know in the Aboriginal cultures or Indigenous cultures over here, I know that certain birds are very like your spirit guides and stuff. I know magpies are a very big one over here in WA. So if you see a magpie, it's your spirit guide watching you. So
I
yeah,
was actually, and that's actually something I was going to ask you, Nikki, as far as like, because obviously with the Aboriginal tribes that you guys have over there,
hmm
I'm sure there are certain birds over there that they represent spiritual, kind of in a similar
yeah,
way like we do here over here with our Native American tribes.
yeah, magpies is a big one.
It's also kind of the same. I mean, it's kind of a nasty bird, but they do say, I don't know if they necessarily say it's like a spiritual one. Maybe it is. I could be wrong.
Mm,
That even kind of goes to some way with the California
Raven.
condor, which is one of the largest, the largest bird we have here in the
Ugly
states.
thing
The
too.
condor.
It's
Yeah,
the
I mean it's
blue.
Well,
ugly. I mean it's
California
rather ugly.
condor.
Yeah, I mean it's a rather kind of ugly looking bird, but Native Americans for centuries have
Yeah,
always seen them as the
Son.
cleaners of the land because they eat dead animals and whatnot. And they think by
yeah,
Right,
eating
right,
the dead animals it cleans the land and
right.
it
Because that roadkill doesn't stay there forever that way.
no, it doesn't.
mm-mm,
Especially out in California, yeah. Where do you
Right,
think
yeah.
where do a lot of the carcasses go? The
right,
condors eat them.
right.
Gets cooked.
Well, you got other
That
things
is
that'll
trippy because
you got other things that'll eat roadkill too, like coyotes and stuff will
Yep.
eat roadkill. Um, where wolves prefer to hunt. Um, but either way, anything that eats the most of the roadkill, it leaves a lot less to you know
To
cause all
clean
kinds
up
of,
and
yeah, say, yeah, roadkill cleanup aisle 3.
stuff.
I mean, that's just but that same bird, that California condor, is what could be mistaken, and people often think that is what people are mistakenly calling the thunderbird
Yes.
because it is so huge, and it is possible for them to fly this far away from California, you
Yeah,
know,
because
and
oh
and with
yeah,
all,
because like
and especially with all those wildfires out there.
yeah, especially which probably has caused a lot of them to migrate further west.
Yeah,
Safer areas.
I have lived in Wisconsin all my life. All right, I've probably seen, because I was also I went deer hunting every year for quite a few years when I was a kid. All right, I have seen just about every type of wildlife there is to see that's native to Wisconsin. But I shit you not, a few years ago, my wife and I were taking a road trip and we were going through the those highways, and they got the overpasses and all that. And you got the big signs telling you white exits, white. The real big signs are about probably 8, 9, 10 feet across because they're taking up all three exits on one sign, right? So you got about a 10-foot sign all the way across, right? And I saw a bird. I shit you not, the thing was as black as could be, and the wings were spread, and it was out pat, and it was sitting almost center of that sign, and both of its wings were out past either end of that sign.
Wow.
You know, and that would definitely be something somebody'd call a thunderbird because I have never seen anything that massive, and I didn't know what it was, and I couldn't identify it because the condors we have here aren't really that big, and they're not all black because there's a little red up and around the neck, you know. So when you see them from a distance, those ones are obvious, and they're also much smaller. So whatever it was, I couldn't identify it. It wasn't native to Wisconsin.
Well, and that's kind of similar with us too, because in the late '70s we had a numerous amount of sightings of what supposedly were Thunderbird encounters. I'm sure you guys probably heard of the one that happened in July of 1977 in Lawndale, Illinois, which is like in the central Illinois, where you had a young 10-year-old that, well, they encountered two of these giant birds. Like a couple of kids encountered these giant birds. One of them, these two giant birds that were flying, one of them swoops down and grabs a 10-year-old boy, nearly carries him 30 feet in the air. It was only when the fight
Wow.
and drop down, was what fight kind of try to struggle was when the bird dropped him eventually, which thankfully he wasn't seriously hurt, but it still leaves him, very shaken. For this,
Yeah,
he's still alive today. He's been on numerous paranormal and cryptid documentaries about his
I saw
encounter.
one that happened like that around here, somewhere around here in Wisconsin, like one of these small rural towns, and it was probably on the same show.
It
I,
probably was.
I don't know. It might have been Monster Quest either too, because that was
They
real
did an
popular.
episode of Thunderbirds on Monster Quest. I think
Yeah,
they
they
do
did.
interview the guy. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they did
So
interview the guy who got carried off over almost 50 years ago now.
yeah, I remember that episode. I remember seeing it somewheres. So
Now,
yeah,
what it's
Well, it's illegal to eat
and,
anything.
and if you think about it, just a regular eagle can carry quite a bit. I've seen the bald eagles when I've been down around the Mississippi River area. I've seen them carry some big fish. I've seen them carry some you know medium sized rodent type whatever, and it's like they sit there and pick that stuff up like it's nothing and
Yeah.
carry it
yeah,
through the air like it's nothing. I mean, I heard story in Pelican Lake, which is about 3 hours north of here or something, where the guy was out walking his dog, and it was a lap dog, so it probably wasn't more than 25 pounds. But an eagle came out, because it was morning. They were coming out and they were swooping the lake for fish. Saw the dog on the pier, grabbed the dog and took off with it.
wow. And it
And
had to be a pretty good sized dog for it to carry it.
and he sat there and he's like, then they never found the dog, never found the carcass. They found the collar eventually. The collar kind of washed up back on the beach about like 2 miles down from where they were.
Oh,
But ever since then, the dogs they have, because they had like 3 or 4 dogs. So after that, they don't go out without the leashes on and somebody holding that leash weighing more than a couple 100 pounds.
Yeah, yeah. I could sure understand that.
Because if an eagle can sit there and grab a dog that weighs about 25 pounds and take off with it, and probably devour it without even thinking twice.
Yeah.
Consider then you take what a thunderbird or the California condor can do, and what kind of, what they could carry away.
We have, what do they call here? Kites. I don't know exactly what they are. They're small hawks, basically.
Oh
They
yeah, I know what those are.
they can pick up a 10-pound dog like nothing. They warn you. They have warning signs here when you're walking your dog, especially if it's small, to make sure.
Yeah.
And
I actually have a photo that I'm trying to upload. I like to talk to you because all this talk about Thunderbirds and stuff like that.
Birds of
It's
prey.
actually a really good picture. I'm just
I'll
trying to
be
look
right
at it.
back.
Yeah,
I've
just
done
get
a couple
there.
shots of Thunderbird.
What's that?
I've done a couple shots of Thunderbird in my day. But
Wasn't there a TV show called Thunderbird
There might
what?
be. I'm not entirely sure.
in the 80s?
If that was from the 80s, then obviously, yeah, that
I
was
think
before my time, of
in
course.
Australia too.
Here, I'm going to try this. I'm not sure. It did say that it was finished uploading. I'm not sure why I can't.
Jesus, Nick, what's wrong with you? No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
Oh wait, my mic wasn't muted. Okay.
wait a minute. You know what? Okay, I think I know what's going on. Because for some reason I
Yeah.
was unable to get. Oh, wait. Actually, no. This was supposed to be right. So why? Okay, let me just try
That's kind
this.
of a creepy shadow with Joe coming back.
Yeah,
On his wall. Just seeing your shadow on the wall, Joe, it's kind of like, whoa.
Oh,
When you were coming back into the frame.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, no, it was just your shadow. It was nothing big. I wouldn't have paid attention either if it had been me walking back in.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
I know that would probably scare Kate, though, because I remember that one time when I came up at the screen and I freaked the hell out of her for that when I showed up back on camera. Because it almost looked like I was coming out of the screen or something like that.
You know, I recall the time this guy got scared at the Abbey really bad.
Yeah, I wonder how that feels like.
I did it to Nick.
Yeah, he was having fun with me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
I'm going back there on the 2nd of next month, Nick.
I was going to say, I know you said you got one last investigation coming up. When was that going to be?
The 2nd of next month, hopefully.
Oh,
It's a real shame,
Where you going?
because after what you said to me about what's going on with it.
Yeah. Tragic. Old Abbey.
It really is. It really is.
100,000 square
But
feet
then
and they're
it
basically
down.
inside of it for apartments.
Oh wow. Said were they about? Are they going to demolish it or?
Unfortunately, yes, they are.
Okay.
It had issues, but
Mm-hmm.
I won't get into that right now unless you want to. But
Yeah. No.
All I know is that it's just such a tragedy when they tear these historic buildings down, especially those.
any historic building down.
Well, that
This is it.
and especially when
Yeah.
some of these locations have got such rich historical history as well as awesome paranormal stories and
So awesome paranormal there.
right, but you got all this history there. Why destroy it? I mean, I like these really there's these, paranormal people that sit there and preserve it, and there's others. Well, we're going to investigate it and milk it for all it's worth, and then we're going to demolish it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to mention names, but there
Well,
was
these kids that don't care about the paranormal at all. They just want the buck.
there was a place in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, called Willow's Weep.
Yeah.
And I was going to go there and investigate it when I was taking that trip where I went through Illinois.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yay, Joe! I haven't got a chance to mortgage it in yet.
And then we went into Indiana, and that's where we got, and then into Michigan. And when I got around to contacting, oh, that's been demolished. Or I read an article before I was able to contact, but it's like, why do that? You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and they
Like,
just did that. They just did that with another place too. Like in addition to the Abbey, Chris, that you were mentioning, there
yeah.
was actually funny enough. This too was also in Indiana, Joe. It was funny enough. It was another old county jail, which
Ooh.
this year would have marked its 150th anniversary. It was built back in 1875,
And see,
and
some of those
right,
county jails have a lot of history because of the inmates that
yeah,
could have been there, like during Prohibition and stuff. You had Dillinger, or where he may have been arrested for a few, because the guy escaped from so many different places,
he
you
escaped
know,
from
or you
he
know.
escaped from the Old Lake County Jail.
But still, that's just a quick example. You could have had that kind of history, and you tear it down, and it's like, yeah, you guys are just totally wrong for that kind of stuff. That's
Exactly.
like, that's about as bad as, and I don't mean to offend anybody out there, but it's like banning the Confederate flag and banning and taking down all of Confederate generals and stuff, and so on and so forth. I mean, come on, it's about the history. Yeah, America had a civil war.
You
It
want
was
me to
North
do that?
versus
Me, you can
South.
get rid of it, or you can look at it.
You know,
It's a picture from the Abbey.
and you sit there and ban the Confederate flag because of a bunch of white supremacists and assholes decide to use it as their symbol. You know, they didn't even know what it meant. A
Yeah.
lot of people, that was like a battle flag for the Confederates. And if you actually dive into the history of what that battle flag means, you'd be a little pissed off too about it because a lot of men from the U.S. died for that flag.
Yeah. Well, in addition to that, too, here's the other thing I see when it comes to like historical locations, whether they're haunted or not. What what really disappoints me too is like for example, these two aforementioned locations we were just talking about, the Abbey and this other one in Indiana, is the fact when you tear it out. For me, it's very upsetting because it's not only just a piece of history that you're losing. But to me, it's almost as heartbreaking and as painful to me as like when a person dies. Because let's face it, other than our spirits, you know, as a physical type of person, after we die, that's it. We don't come back. We're not gonna bring back our bodies to life or anything like that. Same thing when you really think like when you really think of historical locations, is that once it's been demolished, you can't bring it back.
No,
You
you
may be
can't.
able to make you might be able to do like a like maybe a replica of it, but even the replica, it's never going to be the same.
Right. I like those. Like there's those two. They deserve a lot of props. Uh, Miranda Young and Dr. Christy Sumner.
Yeah.
Okay, they went and bought. They saved it actually from being demolished. It was historic Scott County Jail in Tennessee. you know, and they turned it into a museum and a tourism attraction. And all they do now is they don't even really renovate, or restore. It's like they just keep it up to date so that it stays its historical, so it stays to what it looked like back then,
Hmm.
you know. They may have updated the electricity and stuff, but they just what needs to be repaired and leaves everything else to the way it used to look, you know.
Exactly.
So they preserved the history there, And Dr. Christy Sumner, she was also credited for helping moving the Ma Barker house instead of it being destroyed. Bullet holes and all. They moved it from this one place in Florida to another place in Florida, just so they could preserve all the, because it still has everything from the famous police shootout, including the bullet holes in the walls. You know, and that was from the Prohibition days. When they had all those gun runners and moonshiners, cops chasing people, and you know,
Yeah, we've got a few places over here that they try and keep to the
Right.
original. Like with Lowe's Homestead, we were the very first paranormal team to ever investigate that place, and they've literally kept it to its original.
We have I actually do recall not this now what I'm about to say was not even a demolition, but it still would have resulted in the loss of these. But about over a decade ago, maybe I told some of you guys about this before, I can't remember, but and this sounds unrelated, but I'm gonna go right back to it though, is my dad and I back in November of 2013, we were going down to a town called Washington, Illinois, which is not far from Peoria. So once again in the central part of the state. And we were going down there because that was when Joe, maybe you heard about this on the news back then. So correct me if I'm wrong. They had a major tornado that affected Washington, Illinois. It was like one of the worst ones we had seen for the state of Illinois in several years. It was an EF4 on the scale. And what was also highly unusual about this event was that it was obviously way after the end of the season. This occurred in November.
wow,
And the weirdest thing was the weather that followed. Like when the tornado hit Washington in November of 2013, it was like 70 degrees when it hit. Then, like 2 or 3 days later, it dropped down to like 50 degrees. And then afterwards, another 2 or 3 days, it dropped to like 20 to 10 degrees. And so, by the time we got to Washington, it was freaking cold outside. It was even snowing a little bit. But typical, like a lot of these rural towns that you see, like not just here in the state, here in Illinois, but just about all across the country, for a fact that there's going to be historic districts in these rural towns. So when we were driving towards Washington, I immediately was thinking already, even back then, I was already thinking about, I'm sure the historic section has been destroyed. But thankfully, to my surprise, a good portion of the town was definitely destroyed. But we happened to drive through what was the historic district area where many of the 50 to 100-plus-year-old buildings were.
right,
And yeah, I thought you said something. Um, to my surprise, the entire historic district was spared. So
oh,
like its actual history was fine. Although I'll still say either way. Sadly, the rest of Washington was not so lucky because several houses were torn apart. But you drive through the historic area, and there's not even a piece of debris in that area. Like not a single part of that historic district
wow,
was even touched.
that's
So
well,
when I
that's really surprising because the nature, and they did well in that movie Twister. You
yeah.
know, the natures of tornadoes are so unpredictable. I mean, I remember one time it like leveled one whole area they had one. It was a few years back. Went through Stoughton, leveled most of Stoughton,
Yep, Stoughton.
Wisconsin.
I remember Stoughton. I
And
remember
when
that one.
when the pictures were appearing on the news, in the video, you saw
Yep,
all this destruction, and then this one building on the other side of the street was literally untouched.
Yep.
which
You know,
that's for both cases, like Stoughton and Washington. They both, you can kind of say these tornadoes followed the rules of how a typical tornado works. They'll usually destroy one home while leaving the next one or another one completely untouched. In this case, it spared the entire historic district. So at least for my part, I mean, sadly I couldn't say the same for a lot of the other areas of Washington, but I was at least able to breathe a sigh of relief. And, okay, good. The historic area is fine. Now we can start worrying about everybody else. And because this was back in 2013, understandably, since then the whole town has been rebuilt. Tom and I, because when we go down to like some of the other paracons down in central and southern Illinois, we do sometimes
Yeah.
pass Washington. So we've actually passed it. I've seen how much growth and change Washington has become. The historic area is still there, obviously, but they rebuilt that town really fast before you knew it. So it was good to know that even though it's not necessarily the same like as demolition, I was just
Mhm.
relieved that again that the historic area was completely fine. That they weren't going to lose their oldest history of the town.
Mhm.
Nice.
Chris, looks
I,
like you were going to share something.
picture of the Abbey, just so the other two can get a.
Yeah, here's a picture of it.
Oh wow.
And then I sent you a video from the other side if you wanted. I don't know if you can download
Let's see
that
if
or not.
I
It's like
probably
50
can.
seconds or 45 seconds. I don't know.
Here, hold on a second. I'm looking for it.
So last year when
That's
I went
great.
there, I had an attack similar to I had this February, and I had to be hauled down
Wow.
from the second floor and on stretcher out of there, basically
Oh,
down that.
really?
Yeah, I didn't go into a coma, but it was a very similar attack. I just didn't quite go coma route.
You may have to
Wow.
resend it again to me, Chris, because
That's
it
a
was probably a
spooky
long
looking.
time ago.
That's a spooky looking place.
It is. It
Mhm.
really is. And that was definitely a location that did not disappoint us as far as paranormal investigations were concerned. And I really wanted to go back. I really wanted to. And in case you guys wonder how old that one is, because I did a Nick Files episode on the Abbey. This was built
Yeah.
back in 1923, so over 100 years ago.
So it's
Wow.
100 years old from opening this year. It opened in 1925.
Yeah, it
They
was
started
built in
getting it
19.
in
Yeah,
1923.
yeah, I was gonna say it was built in 1923, but didn't open until about 2 years later.
There,
Yeah.
there, there's the worst one I actually remember because I went through this town afterwards. I had to look it up to see when it was. 1984 Barneville tornado.
Oh yeah, the barn. That was one of the
1980,
worst for Wisconsin.
the, the 1984 Barneville tornado ranks among the most devastating in Wisconsin's history. Occurring on June 8th, this tornado was classified as an F5. It hit the small town of Barneville in the early morning hours. The tornado struck with little warning, causing extensive damage. Nearly 90% of Barneville was destroyed.
Oh yeah, it was like wiped off the map. It was.
It left 9 people dead and 200 injured.
I know for a fact one of the victims tragically was a child because I actually you guys can't actually I could pull it up. No, actually I don't think I can. Actually no. This tape here, I still have this on VHS. This Nova documentary, obviously just called Tornado. It was released just a year after the Bonneville tornado in this one 1985, and
Wow.
they interview the parents of the kid that died from the Barneville tornado. And the reason why 9 people were killed as a result of that one was like as you just said, Joe, it happened
Mhm.
very early in the morning. It happened just after 1 a.m. So most people were completely off guard, as understandably. Again, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Most people, many were asleep when the tornado struck in the overnight hours.
Yeah,
So
my dad and I drove from Oregon out there the next day. Which was about an hour or so drive. You know,
when we drove, my mom and I 10 years ago, we also drove kind of on the outskirts of Barneveld, and as soon as I found out where we were, I mean, it's like it was just like that, and I just thought, thinking, oh my god, we're in
we
Barneveld, and
went
I
by
and, I- and I immediately thought about that tornado immediately.
this area where there was a farm and the house and all of that. The only thing that was standing, and this is why too. I think the windows were blown out, but everything else around it, the all the barns and the
Yeah,
vehicles and the tractors and all the farm equipment was totally destroyed, and the windows were the
Wow.
only thing blown out of the house. Otherwise, the house was left untouched because The house was built kind of in a hill, and the roof, the guy would actually have to go out and mow his roof.
Wow.
Because the roof was, the roof was under the, the house was actually built into the hill somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
What?
everything, I mean, the cars were totally demolished. There was a
Yep.
car, and there was literally the truck. He had an old pickup truck. It was actually in a tree.
Wow.
Yeah. Excuse
That
me.
that's not the one. There's a book called Weird Wisconsin. They got a picture of an old blue and white truck or something up in a tree. That's not it because they actually got that. Within I'm sure a couple of weeks, got that one out of the truck. But we were out there the next day and saw this stuff, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, just the power of Mother Nature. And the scariest part, too, about the Barneveld tornado was not only the fact that it was an F5, which is at the top of the scale, but more importantly, too, this tornado truly was a monster. And not also just because it happened at night, too. The
Yeah, it
Barneveld,
had like a massive like base too.
oh yeah, the Barneveld tornado was a quarter mile wide. Its winds were estimated at about 260 miles an hour. So this thing was,
It
it
did
truly was it really was a beast.
It was the worst tornado in Wisconsin's history. One of the worst, if not.
Yeah, the only other one that I know of that's been just as bad, and this was about almost 100 years before, was the 1899 New Richmond, Wisconsin tornado.
Oh, I remember that one too. No, I'm just kidding. I
No,
couldn't.
that one actually, I believe, because I have the Wikipedia page open, so they did say something about that particular one from that happened on June 12th of 1899, and that is still to this day not only that one is still considered the deadliest tornado ever recorded in all of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Uh,
See, and
yeah, that killed 107. That one killed 117 people. But
yeah.
not only,
See
go ahead,
that one and that one. What was it now?
Barneville.
Barneveld. That one then ranks second definitely because
Yeah, it's definitely
most
the second.
most common out of all these tornadoes, they rank either an F2 or F3, F1. They don't even really get an F4 around here. I've been in I've actually seen 4 or 5 tornadoes in my lifetime where I've actually been outside looking at them, and watching them
Yeah, I watched one
from
jump
a,
the house when I was a
from
kid.
a safe distance, of course. But
Mhm.
Yeah,
I always thought I should have been a storm chaser.
yeah. Well, here's one more thing.
Okay,
I was
Nick,
doing
I
that
got a
kind of
treat
thing
to you.
as a kid.
Mhm.
Well, here's one more thing here too. By the way, speaking of the new Richmond one, that too, by the way, Joe, is also estimated to have been an F5. I mean, even though this was long before the Fujita scale was raised, because obviously did not
Right.
exist until the 1970s. Based on the photographs, they say that this is an estimated F5, and like I said, at least 117 people were killed by this one. And although I said it's the deadliest ever recorded in Wisconsin, to this day, however, it is also still ranked as the ninth deadliest tornado in U.S. history.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Nick, I think I got that video sent to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna send. Okay, so we got a couple things here that,
That whole scale is based on how much it eats.
yeah, how much damage.
Basically, how much damage it does. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and in order for an F5, or in this case, an EF5, as it's now referred to as, um, the whole property would have to be swiped clean. It
Wow.
would have to be wiped off. It basically would have to clean up any existence of a house. That's how it usually works. With an EF4, it usually means the house is completely destroyed, but it's nothing but rubble. But an EF4, EF5 damage at times, to trying to figure out whether an EF4 or F5 is appropriate is very difficult. Um, okay, so I'm going to share the screen real quick.
Yeah.
Here is your video. Can you guys see that right now?
No.
Kind of.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you guys see anything? Okay.
It's not big yet, but yeah.
I don't know what these notifications are. Sorry. Here, hold
Yeah.
on.
My bad if it's something on my side, dude.
I had to take my old man pills, so I'm not looking.
No, it's no. Don't worry. It's on Facebook. It's Facebook. Okay, let's try this again.
Is it not working right? I had to share it
You
way,
know,
way.
it's acting really weird today. Like I was getting all these
Mm-hmm.
notifications. Like I tried getting rid of them, and they just wouldn't stop. And another thing I'm going through, I've had this issue before, is where you're after you send me the video, it takes like a minute, 2 minutes before the messenger is loaded.
Yeah, okay. Okay. It
Oh, well,
played when I tried to play it off sending it to you, so.
here, hold on. Let me stop. I'll put it back up in a minute. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
no, absolutely. Do what you got to do. I just thought it would be cool so they could see this. Now,
Oh,
it's over
we'll definitely get
100,000
it
square.
up. We'll definitely get it up. I'm just trying to. It's just not cooperating with me right now.
And I don't know what the
It's
other.
anything we could push.
Yeah, it really is.
I've actually had that thing in the Ulathorn Hall. I had something
Oh, really?
like my name was said over my shoulder here. I was right against the door, and I was like, okay, I hear a whisper. You know, whatever. That's kind of cool. And then when I was talking to some people, this is a dormitory, so you know how long dormitories are roughly.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody was down at the other end of the dormitory, and they said they heard my name being screamed at that same moment.
Wow,
So
that's insane. That.
that was my very first experience on that campus. That
Wow.
And how long ago was that?
was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. No, about 2 years before you got there.
Okay, so yeah, that's because I didn't. Yeah, I was probably about 4 years then because we went there in 2023.
Okay,
So yeah, if that was 2 years, you were there in
I
20.
started going right at the tail end of COVID stuff, so
Okay.
or when it was still going on here. But
Okay, here. All right, let's try this. I don't know why it was stalling so much. Let's try this again.
it's
And
an
then,
old video too.
yeah, and then Nikki, I'll show you the pictures you sent me then next.
Yeah.
Can everybody see this?
Yeah,
Yes.
blow it up
Yes.
Hang on.
if you can. If you can make it bigger.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to.
You can't bring that up to the.
Wait, it's not. Is it not? Is it not showing?
Well,
No.
it just
Not on the big screen, just on the little one down below.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. See, I'm still getting used to that. Sorry about that. Let's try that one more time.
Yeah,
And it
now you
can't
got it right. Looking
Yeah,
good.
no, seriously, thanks. Forgot about that. So either way, sorry about that.
Katie, this is the Abbey.
Wow.
100K
Katie's my
square
niece.
feet.
Where's
Holy
this?
sugar monkeys.
Where's this at?
A little girl.
Canyon City.
Canyon City, Colorado.
Wow.
Yes, please.
A crawly, scratchy thing in those basement areas. There's the event center. On the other side of that, I'm staying in the sister's house.
Also haunted.
And right here's the old dome, Ulathorn Hall. I've heard my name whispered
That's
here
cool stuff. Yeah.
over my shoulder.
And then there's a gymnasium and
And that's a training center for DOT. I mean,
the gym is haunted too.
Katie, this is the
Yeah, we're also near a prison too when you're there because not far from that particular area, just a few miles away, you also have the Colorado Territorial Prison, which that is an original prison. To this day, that's the only operating prison in the state of Colorado that's still in operation before Colorado achieved statehood.
And
And
the gas chamber.
yep, yeah, the gas
Sorry,
chamber too.
Richmond.
So
And the most secure prison in the United States is right by there.
yeah, you have the ADX Supermax in Florence,
Thank
Colorado,
you.
which Joe, I know we talked about one of Lowe's shows one time about the Supermax. And despite the Colorado Territorial Prison, even though it is now a historic structure because it's an original prison, as of 2025, there are no plans of there are no plans of closing the territorial prison.
Right.
So I think they're pretty much going to try to keep it running as long as they're able to. Although I do know though that I think it was I don't know if it was about a year or two ago, or if it was this year, Chris. They were I know Colorado's actually no, that would be next year. Colorado's 150th anniversary is next year. So, which by the way, I know it's still a year away, but congrats for the 150. But I did find out that amongst those that are going to be in attendance, ironically enough, the warden of the Colorado Territorial Prison is supposed to be there too, because even though it's obviously intended to be a maximum security facility, it's still once again representing pretty much the state's history.
Yeah. There's all kinds of prisons around that area.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So these next images I got here, I'm gonna show. This is so here's your pictures now. Sorry to keep you waiting, Nikki.
That's okay. It's all good.
All right. So I'm gonna share this again. So give me 1 second here. And this I'm going to
Wait.
remember to share the. I'm going to remember to check the bottom this time.
Isn't
Yeah.
keeping people waiting like a habit for you though?
Well,
You're always late.
I mean, hey, I got
Hey,
no
I mean,
reason. Anyways, these look. Sorry.
Whoa.
So this looks really interesting. So what's
that's
this look?
looking, Nikki.
So this is part of Woodrow's homestead. It was built in 1871, and this is one of the original churches on the estate by Francis Bird. And you may recognise that church because it's actually our logo for Paranormal Perth.
Yeah, that's right. It looks familiar.
Wait, is that the one you
So,
made the blanket with?
yes.
The picture on the blanket? Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, Woodrow's homestead was built in 1871 by architecture Francis Bird, and he has his beautiful wife Augusta, and they believe to have 7 kids and above during that time. So
My
yeah,
dog.
busy
Sorry,
man.
didn't mean to show my butt to everybody.
That's okay. It's all good.
Well,
And
that's
then the next photo, and that's the actual homestead itself.
oh really okay. So that
That
leads to the
place.
question. Oh, I'm sorry, Nikki. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're right. So Francis Bird built that homestead, and him and his wife had 7 lovely children plus. It's believed that one was buried on site. For a few years, they couldn't actually find where the child was buried until they were like cleaning the Rose Garden and stuff, and they actually found her memorial. So they believe that's where she's buried.
So I have a question in regards to not only this picture but also this
Yeah.
location because it's pretty much
Mhm.
the same area. Are these because it looks like they're out in the woods? Is this out in a wooded area, or is it just a few
No,
trees that just surround the area?
just a few trees on the property. Yeah. So it's
Okay,
one big location. Yeah.
I was gonna
It's
ask that
that,
too, actually.
and then behind it is the church. Yeah.
okay, yeah. This is the church. Okay,
So this is
oh,
lovely York Town Hall. That place, yeah, that is insane.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool. That's
so
really
if you
cool.
zoom in a little bit,
It, that picture almost reminds me of like a coffee drive-through shop almost.
mm, yeah. So that was built in 1911.
1811. So okay, so this is
Wow.
like a over 200-year-old structure.
Yeah,
At least
and the
still
Jared
up.
floors. That's right. The
I
Jared
love
floors
those. Oh,
built
go ahead.
from the places.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. It's all good. So yeah, a lot of floorboards were used from other locations and stuff like that. The history, So we were investigating there, and I was doing a mediumship thing, and she's like, "Oh, is there anything that you can pick up?" Now, when I do investigation, I don't really like to know about the history too much until we've done an investigation. Then we look at the history, and then we can kind of be like, "Okay, this makes sense, that makes sense," and we kind of put
You're
it
not biased
together.
that way.
So yeah, I was on stage doing my thing, and I was like, "Oh, in 1941, I believe, or 1841, there was a gentleman that passed away in a horse and cart accident out the front, and he was intoxicated." And the historian looked at me like dead in the face, going, "You're 110% right." And she's like, "No one would know that unless they work in the historian society, and you have to dig deep." So that is to believe where the car is, where he lost his life. So,
Oh, really? Okay. Now,
and then there should be a video.
so question in regards, because just like the surrounding areas again, is this actually in downtown Perth or is this in another city?
So this is in York. It is 2 hours drive east, I believe. But yeah,
Oh, you're getting notifications.
That's really bad. I like how it's in even though it's a over 200-year-old structure. I like how it looks like it's in such great shape. Like they've really been taking care of the building.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you walk in there, and I'm like, holy moly, this is like.
Yeah, they're doing a great job keeping that building up.
I'll see if I can show you the video.
So I know you sent me a few other links. I'm gonna see what this one is right here.
Yeah. Whoa. Oh,
Oh, it
So
looks like
this is So if you can zoom in as close as possible, it
yeah.
might be
Give me
really
1
hard to
second here
explore.
again. It's loading up very slowly.
Okay,
So
cool. So
yeah,
Nick, where your mouse is, if you can see the, yep. Do you see
there
where
we
the
go.
K2 is on the table? Yep, there we go. So it's really, bunch of monkeys. So it's really quick. Where the K2 is on the table, if you look up there, it goes from there across. You see this orb, and it'll suddenly hit the K2. And no one was in that. That was just like a little static camera,
Is
just
this the
pointing
K2
at
right here?
stuff. Yes, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
it's really, really quick.
all quiet.
No, oh, come on.
Yeah, it looks like
No,
it's
that's
about a minute video.
Oh, no, that's fine.
okay. But yeah, that.
Oh,
Ta-da.
yep, there it is. There, it's lighting up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And nothing changed. I mean, that's amazing because there's no outside interference.
No, and
Nobody
it's
seeing
far
it.
away from any. It's also still far away from, even though there are electronics around. It's far away from the
Mhm.
electronics.
Yeah, and they hadn't set it off earlier, so it just went off.
They're
That's a
all,
cool piece of evidence. I like
yeah,
that.
it really
Thank
is.
you.
I'll play it again.
And if you look really, really close, you can kind of like see an orb like go from the right
It
down, and
did.
then it hits it.
Yeah, I thought I saw something moving.
It looked like it got bumped once he
Yeah.
said that.
Honestly, after when you said about the orb and stuff, man, I thought I saw something moving, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. But
Yeah.
now that you say that, now I definitely do notice it.
Mhm.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, that place is pretty intense. And
It's
like,
really
yeah, they
developed.
keep everything, like everything in there is from that time. They have stories about Francis Burt and his kids and what happened down there and stuff.
That's
So,
amazing. I like that
It really
piece.
is. I mean, it's not
and
when I
we're the very
travel.
first paranormal team ever to investigate the location. So,
It's
yeah,
amazing to me, like when you have not only just the building still standing, but a lot of the objects that were also kind of original to the structure
Yeah, there's the
in a
stuff in the back.
way. It's more to me. Then it's more when you have items that are original to the structure. Then to me, it's almost like an upgrade. It's more than just a historic location. It's essentially a time capsule because not only is the building still standing, but the items that are still in existence that have still survived. In this case, even after 200 years. So in a way, it's kind of like a time capsule.
Yep.
I'll send you some other ones.
Oh, hang on a second, guys.
Nick.
You're right.
They are just, it is just not cooperating with me today.
It's yep.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take off, guys. I'm really tired. So.
No problem,
Yeah, no,
Joe.
you're right.
So have a good night, buddy.
Yeah,
Yes.
good
See you,
having
mate.
you on, and we'll probably see you
And
next week.
have a
But
safe
Good seeing you.
tomorrow.
have a good 4th of July.
Yeah, it's been a long day, and I got a busy day tomorrow. So,
Yep, we
Enjoy.
all
Thank you.
have a good
Be
4th.
safe.
Happy 4th.
yeah, you too.
Happy 4th of July.
Yep. Happy 4th, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, let me see if I can try to get this up again.
I'm trying to see some.
That's amazing. I like that piece of footage. Where's that at?
Yeah,
I didn't hear where that was.
I'm
Willow's
curious.
Homestead in Canningvale.
And how long? And while and how long ago was that when that was
6
shot?
months.
So about
6
half a
months.
year ago. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the next link. That is, if the stupid Facebook would allow me to see the chats.
I know, dang it. And that's
I
the only way.
got to ring bells. I got to ring bells on my birthday.
Come on.
Oh, really? All right,
Hang on.
hold on. I'll zoom in while we're waiting. Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Check
Yeah.
that out.
And then there's me going white because I did my weight. And because I'm one of the lightest people now, I'm just like, wee.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, here we go. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, this is another video.
so this is the same location. I think.
Yeah, looks. I was going to say, is this the same location as the first video?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second here.
Let me know. Getting some messages. I was checking them.
Okay.
So this one.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you got it. So this one, we believe it's an orb, but yeah, that's just question mark
Ooh,
because there's no one in there. So
Oh yeah, I see that. Yep.
wow.
it's
And
like
you're
the
right.
tower.
It does look like it
Orb
has
that
got
one.
like a tail to it, like a contrail.
I would orb that one.
Yeah. And
A lot
the
of
creepy
them I
thing
did
is,
find,
well,
I'm like, oh, it's dust, but I'd orb that one.
Yeah,
yeah,
because
I would
like
say orb that one.
the
Yeah.
fact that the way how it's moving, because if it was indeed dust, then it would have gone most likely in a straight direction. But in this case,
Right.
like in this case, as you're about to see now, like it is going straight at first, but then it kind of makes a little bit of a curve.
Yeah, it takes a turn.
Yeah, it takes a turn basically, and dust doesn't move like that on its own.
Mhm.
Now, of course, there is also the belief, like some skeptics would think maybe this could also maybe just be an insect, because insects can sometimes do that. But seeing how large this particular orb is, I would not think at all that this would be some kind of insect.
And it don't focus
Yeah.
when you zoom in.
Yeah.
Focus and become like a grasshopper or a
Yeah, I was going to say if it was an insect, it would have to be a pretty large insect to make its appearance like that on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be running. If I saw that, I'd be like, I'm out. If that was a bug. But yeah, that place was insane. Is that where the piano is? No, I know where that is. So a little bit about that part of the homestead is they have a lot of war memorabilia and stuff like that around it. So yeah.
That's really fascinating.
And that night was insane because we're in the homestead. They've got 2 pianos. We call it, so when you walk in, you've got the piano room. We call it the music room. On your right, and then on your left, you have bedroom, and then you've got a massive hallway, and then you've got the living room. I would say where that is, we'll say family court room, and then you have this massive living room, and then you have the kitchenette, and we're all the way in the front. And something was just like, just play a little bit on the piano. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 chords. And I was like, hey, if there's anyone here, and I know that you like playing with music, can you play with one of the piano chords in the other room? So I'm just like, ding ding. And then within probably 5 minutes, you actually hear on the other side, ding, ding. I'm like, thanks.
So did
We
you just stop
appreciate it.
or
That's really fascinating either way. I'm going to play the
both of those
next.
two are awesome. I like them both.
Thank you.
Oh, funny enough, just real quick, I know we're on Facebook, that this picture right here, the guy Jack Chavez showing this place called the Country House, if you guys can see that. You see that
Yeah.
where it says, I've been to that location, and
Cool.
I haven't investigated it, but I have been there because Country House, as we're waiting for this to load, it's a restaurant. So, in fact, you go into this restaurant even today, like if you look at their menus, on the side part of the menu, they actually do tell about the ghost story involving the Country House. Yeah, that I don't know exactly what, I can't remember how long exactly the building has been standing, but the story goes that sometime in the mid to late 1950s, there was a young woman that had stopped at the Country House who had a kid, and I guess the story goes was that she needed to drop her child off there for a few minutes and needed
Yeah.
somebody to watch her while she had to run some kind of errand. And unfortunately, the owner of the Country House did not want to take responsibility for that. Again, it's been again. I only know parts of it. It's been such a long time since I've heard this story.
Mm-hmm.
So she ends
Right.
up she was very upset, very disappointed, and as they were driving down the road, which this is near, I think this is near Downers Grove, I believe. As they're driving down the road, I guess maybe whether she had suicidal thoughts or not, it's hard to say. But she ended up crashing into a tree, and
Wow.
fortunately, she was killed. Her child survived. The child was injured, but she was killed unfortunately. And they say her spirit is still said to haunt the Country House. And what's kind of ironic is I've actually seen, because one of the things that occurs at this restaurant is oftentimes people will usually see a woman looking down from one of the windows on the top floor of the building. And
Wow.
to my surprise, I still admit it to this day, I actually saw her standing in the window one time. And this was still at a time during my early days of studying the paranormal. At the time that I saw her, I probably had been maybe no more than around 15 years old when we went over there. So that was like
Mhm.
my real first encounter with an actual full body apparition.
Wow.
Of course, to a more family dynamic, that was something that we used to take my grandmother to. But sadly, of course, she's gone now. She passed away back in 2009. But that was a
Yeah.
favorite place of hers, too, in addition to it being haunted.
Sorry to hear that, babe.
Yeah. Okay, so I got the next video that you have here, Nikki. So give me 1 second while I'm waiting for the
So
load.
this is lovely Kalamunda Hotel. This is my favourite hotel. This place is haunted to a T.
Little KK.
To a T.
Okay, here we go.
So if you zoom in, it's from K2 down. It's really, really quick. It's literally like
Yeah.
35 seconds.
There.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I can see that.
And again, nothing there to make it do that either.
No electronics or interference.
No, we've got no electronics in that one.
And it's right in the
That's
middle of a
incredible.
table.
Yeah, we believe that's a little girl Ava. So a little bit of history about Kalamunda Hotel. So there is a little girl. Her name is Ava. They believe she's the age of 7 to 8. I believe she's around about 7.5. She's believed to see walking around with a doll. She doesn't like men. So sorry, Darren, who's our only male investigation at the moment that's been to Kalamunda for a long time. But yeah, she's starting to like Darren. She'll kind of like hide if there's a male around. She absolutely loves me. You know how you've got like your niece and your nephew, and they'll kind of like play your pants and try to get your attention, like, hey, mummy, you know. Every time I've been there, I would always feel her touching my leg, trying to get my attention. I'm like, not now, Ava. Like, I'm trying to talk or something. But yeah, she absolutely loves that K2 in that area. Also, there is a gentleman called Paddy, and he was the founder of Kalamunda Hotel. And yeah, he's been heard, seen. I've caught a full
Insane.
facial photo of him. So, yep.
I just can't
That's
take my eyes off of it. I keep trying to look for some way to debunk it because that's just in my nature, and I'm
yeah.
not.
Yeah, I'm the
But
same.
there's
We
no
try
way
to
that
debunk.
I was
Yeah,
trying to do the same thing too, but I just don't see any type of interference whatsoever that would
even
cause
from a
that.
distance, even when it's zoomed out. That's the part I'm trying to watch. What's all zoomed out. I was like, is there anything that can be there?
Yeah,
Boom!
there's no way.
Yeah.
There's just nothing I can think of.
And
Um,
it's no offense to you, Nikki. That's just my nature. I've got kicked out of groups for.
No, no, I'm the same. Yeah, I prefer
I
to
can get
debunk
up.
stuff than say
That could be a
everything's
bug.
paranormal.
well, and see, that's
Because
why
majority of the
when it
time,
comes to
a lot of stuff can be debunked, but then when it does happen, you're kind of like, wow. Yeah.
oh,
But it's
hey,
Because
you
we
so
said
now.
we were
Adrian,
there
hey
from.
Adrian,
Hi, Adrian.
Hey, Adrian. Yeah, we were there from 6 p.m. in the evening till 3 a.m. in the morning.
wow. Well, the other
Yeah.
thing too, and I think
That
it's very
was,
important to say. I mean, we talk about evidence and wanting to debunk it. I mean, that's kind of something I've been very open to. Like, especially you guys know
yeah,
that infamous footage I have that I took at the Olay County
yeah,
Jail, where that black mass is coming from the ceiling, and to
Oh
this
yeah,
yeah,
day,
yeah.
you guys know, I've said this numerous times. That has been a video that, as great as it is, I've been trying to have it
mm,
debunked. I mean, I've been going to like the most hardcore professional skeptics out there, that could debunk it for me, and they don't know what to think of it. In fact, I
yeah,
actually we had it featured on Greg's show several months ago, and I can't remember his name, but they have a guy that usually would debunk it. He said he only had one idea of how that black shadow would have been caused,
mm,
which would have been he thought, if my finger was over part of the lens, it might cause
yeah,
that. But I had one of those cameras that had that wide fixture on the end of it. If you like, they use with
Yeah.
television
right,
cameras. So like, why would I have my fingers over it? And I know for a fact that it wasn't because
And it
I
don't come like a finger. It really
no,
don't look like a finger going across a camera. Like
yeah. Well, and
yeah,
furthermore, I
like
still
this.
remember. I know my left hand was down. I was holding the camera with my
yeah,
right hand.
exactly,
I had
Nikki.
to, so there was
Yeah,
no
you
way that I
understand.
could just, put my, either way. It's like, why would I be doing that?
It don't
So
look like a finger in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's
does.
the only possible explanation, but it's not a good one at
Well,
all.
so
and a
we'll
lot
try
of
and
people,
debunk it.
I've been meaning to do this for months, but I've been told several times to deliver that footage actually to Paranormal Caught on Camera. And
Yeah,
I actually found this out. I thought you could only just do one, but I guess you can do it with both shows. In addition to
mm,
showing it on, in addition to showing it, like having it brought to Paranormal Caught on Camera's attention, I was also going to send it to Unexplained Caught on Camera's show too, because
no,
the one thing I like about there's one thing that's different from Unexplained compared to Paranormal Caught on Camera is that a lot of times when it comes to Paranormal Caught on Camera, there are times where sometimes they just do jump into conclusions and say it is
yeah,
paranormal, because some of the
mm,
videos that were shown were later found out to not really be paranormal after all. With
right,
there's no skeptics, there's no antagonists, if you will. But with
mm,
Unexplained Caught on Camera, on the other hand, they do have both a combination of believers and skeptics on the
yeah,
show. And what better to have than obviously one of my favorite parapsychologists, Dr. Karen O'Keefe. And
Right?
when I that's that's something I almost met him actually when Jenny from Ireland had him on as a guest. Unfortunately, the connections was terrible. I wasn't able to speak to him, but I plan on sending the footage because as far as debunking it or skepting it, again, like I said, I've tried some of the most hardcore skeptics, but none have been able to debunk it. So, in my personal opinion, sending it to Karen O'Keefe, he is what I would essentially call my last hope. Because
mm,
it sounds crazy, for me to say that, but he is my last hope of getting this debunked
yeah,
to where point where because I don't want to end up showing this footage and then later find out, oh, I didn't even think of that. You guys
yeah,
get what I mean. So that's
yeah,
why
yeah,
Karen
Yeah,
O'Keefe,
no, totally.
yeah, he is my last hope for that. And if he can't figure it out, then I think it would be pretty much obvious that it is indeed paranormal footage at that point.
No, that's amazing. And the good thing too is like it's good to debunk stuff because a lot of people are like, oh, it's paranormal. I'm like, well, it can be debunked because there's electric, sorry, blah, blah, blah. There's electricity wires going through a building. You know, it could set it off. But
Exactly.
that's why
Well,
when
and
they do put stuff up.
there was actually.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
that's why sometimes when I do put stuff up, I'll put like question mark. I'll be like, this is up to the viewers. Like, do you believe this is paranormal? It could be. It might not be. Like, I'm not saying it is, but I'm not saying it's not. So there is some footage up there that, you know, because there was a time at Woodlow's homestead and there's like a doll that's in an old stainless steel cot. I hate dolls. And if you saw the photo I got of this doll, you'll be like, oh no. And we had the K2 on it, and this the K2 was constantly going off. Now, could that be paranormal? Yes. Could it not be paranormal? Yes, because there is electrical wires underneath the floorboards. So, but that, you know, during that time we investigated, the power went off. So it's kind of like a question mark. So yeah, in that photo we're kind of like, this could be paranormal, but it might not be. So that
I can honestly say too. I mean, it's not also just based on the video or photographic or audio evidence that you get. Even during the investigation itself, you want to try to be skeptical because it's not always just about the evidence itself. I can give a classic example. I'm not sure if I told you guys this. Maybe I did tell you guys a long time ago. So remind me if I did. But and this is funny enough. This was at another location that sadly no longer exists, and that was Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky.
And just watch the TV show on that.
Yeah. Well, you know, we went back in 2012, and I still recall, like, even back then, people were really under the belief, even investigators were under the belief that this was, you know, an evil, diabolical, demonic location that, you know, you're going to get possessed and stuff like that. Well, I could definitely tell you guys from the experience that, you know, the experiences at Bobby Mackey's Music World, it was completely the opposite. It was nothing like that. In fact, we barely had any type of activity that occurred at Bobby Mackey's. In fact, the only thing that really occurred, and it occurred right before we even began the investigation. Now, here's the thing: before I tell you exactly what happened, you guys would understand how it's unexplained. Was we went during the month of August, and it was and you have to remember, I mean, it's Kentucky. Well, not just Kentucky, but, you know, just like most of the rest of the country, it was the height of summer. So it was humid and it was hot.
For us.
Yeah, I mean, what?
For us. Isn't Australia's weather backwards from ours?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, it was. Oh my God, the heat! I'll never forget. That was probably probably one of our more difficult investigations because it was how freaking hot it was. But going back to the activity, the only thing that ever occurred when we were there was we did feel a cool, unexplained breeze that did go by us. Again, this was even before we began. We felt this unexplained breeze that went by, and that was
it. You fart, Nick.
No.
I'm going to say that too, Nikki.
No, it was actually a cold breeze, and there was no explanation for it whatsoever. Because even inside the bar, it was hot, so didn't know exactly where this cool breeze came from. But that was it. We didn't have anything else occur to us at Bobby Mack. Now, I'm just going to say, was this place like ever truly like an evil location? Maybe it was at one point. I would say maybe, you know, everything that we've seen like from like the old shows and stuff like that, it's possible. Maybe at one point Bobby Mackey's Music World was truly an evil location and had all this diabolical activity, but it has since left or has been exorcised, and there's just not as much activity as there was, you know, almost 50 years ago.
Maybe the spirits got tired and were like, I'm tired of fucking with people.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, it's probably that too. Some of these spirits probably just got tired and left. I think they were probably done. So,
I think
That's
that,
funny.
so
Coming
that was
across. I sent you this stuff when we were talking about the Abbey still, Nick.
yeah. Well, to go back to like debunking and stuff like this, to get
Yeah.
to the main point of this investigation that I had just I didn't even know we had someone else coming on.
Oh,
Oh, hey,
surprise.
how are you? Good to see you
what's
again.
up, buddy?
Just got off work, man.
How you doing? How you doing?
We were
Otherwise,
talking about debunking.
I'm doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
just kind of
Me?
we're talking about a couple different things right now. We're talking about debunking that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How important it is when you have some type of evidence of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Because Nikki had some
And also,
killer.
too, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, because evidence is definitely important. Data is definitely important because sometimes when we're paranormal investigators, sometimes we have to debunk our stuff too, as well.
And the
Exactly.
cannons have started, Nick.
Well, what I was going to say just before Lurker came on, to go
Sorry,
back to
Michael.
the thing about to go back to the whole thing about debunking was during the investigation we had at Bobby Mackey's Music World. We had someone who was obviously not very experienced when it came to investigations, but we still had her come along with us anyway. And I knew about this back in 2012, where
When you were
she had the
starting.
Ghost Radar app, and she
Oh.
really truly believed she was getting responses and stuff like that.
Sorry.
I can't tell you how irritated I was, and I can't tell you how much I just really wanted to go up there and saying, you're not getting anything out of that, right? Those are not actual responses.
I've had like one response on there I truly believed because we were kind of agitating Ghost one time. I know, bad thing to do, provoke and all that, but we weren't getting responses. And one of the guys we were with had Ghost Radar. And I said, if you want us to leave this room, make this thing throw 3 red dots up. Bang, 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 3 red dots. So we're like, okay, we're gone. But generally, I'll say, no, I don't believe it either.
Chris, I'm gonna full screen this again. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna full screen so you guys can see this picture.
Okay, you saw this already.
Yeah, I did. This is quite
I
Carlos,
remarkable.
saw it too.
Check this out. Nick, yeah, I
that's the
apologize. I'm sorry to say this again. We're hearing the crinkling again.
That's at the Abbey. I know you already saw it. You guys have already seen it. And then some EVPs and stuff from there too. I wanted to know what you guys thought one of them said, and I couldn't remember which one, so I sent them all.
I wonder if there's some way that I could try to zoom in just a little bit more so we can get a better.
Yeah.
Okay, this is probably as good as. Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah,
That's
it's not.
probably as close as I'm gonna
I
go.
didn't get it in good resolution from the person I got it from. So,
But you can definitely see that there's somebody standing in the corner right there.
yeah, that's.
On
And
a
then there's like a
debunk,
shadow on the other side.
I don't want to debunk it, but could it be a reflection of the
You know
photo
what?
that someone's taking the photo with?
I have my reservations about this picture,
Yeah, because to me it looks like the reflection that someone's taking the photo.
especially with 2 there. But I can see why somebody would go. And even I think Lurker and me were both like, whoa, because I got it that day, actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
Somebody sent it to me. And so I was like, whoa. I saw the shadow figure first, and he saw the little in the corner, the little red shirt.
Yeah, I saw the person in the corner. I didn't see the photo from you as well.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say I'm not necessarily going. I'm kind of on the same page. Like it could be maybe someone's reflection, but I'm going to say for now that I'm kind of in between. Like
And that's in the sister's house.
yeah, oh, for the sisters. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of in between this picture. I'm going to say it could it be paranormal? Maybe it is, but
Or
it
maybe
could
a
also
combo.
be somebody's reflection. So I'm kind of in the center.
I think the little girl might be reflection.
It could, very likely. Now I'm gonna play these. Oh, whoops! I forgot. I just realized that because I zoomed out so much. That's why.
Oh, hello.
I'm gonna play. These are EVPs you sent me, Chris.
The first one, I believe, is a spirit box session, and it calls a girl a bad name. The Abbott called the girl a Betsy because she's sitting on his bed. And I just
Well,
think
I've been called so many names, it's unbelievable.
I sent you those the other night, yeah. But go ahead and play them.
Just before I play these, again,
It's not
Jim's
tested.
everywhere.
It's not a tested
the
word.
crinkling is still going on again, Nikki. I'm sorry.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll just mute it until the audio's done, and then we'll we can talk about it. So here we go. Okay, here we go with the first one.
Maybe that's why you can have people sit on it. Not that part.
Are you trying to sleep in your bed? Are we interrupting that sleep?
Yes, slut.
Yeah, slut.
Wow.
Did it just say yeah,
Yes,
slut?
Yes.
Bam. Did I tell you or did I tell you? Bam.
That part.
Whoever just said yeah, slut, that was very, very rude.
Thank you,
And then
Jim.
there's another part.
Yes.
Is it because I'm posed like this?
Is it because of how Cody is laying down? I can't see either one of you. How about that shit? Yeah.
Did it just say you're a stripper?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did
Yeah.
you hear that? I didn't.
Those are the
It's
two
something you're
kind of caught right
stripping
there
out.
on the spirit box.
Slut and stripper. Wow.
But yeah, slut, that was clear as day, wasn't it?
I do pretty good. Sir, did you just call Cody a stripper?
And that's it for that one, pretty much.
Okay, and then
I think you want
that plays.
Did it just say move?
Did you?
He called me cow.
Did you not hear that?
Okay, I'm gonna play
So the funny thing about that one is the girl who it said you're a stripper to actually does pole classes to stay in shape.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, stripper classes.
So before I play these other two, what are the next ones we should expect, Chris?
That one I think says my name, and the other one says I don't know. I'll let you figure it out because I've never been able to figure it out, but I hear something.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, when it says it, just go like that with your finger, because then you can kind of
Yeah.
let you know you're hearing some stuff.
Nikki, do you mind if you can mute the mic once we? Okay, thank you. I'm gonna play these two relatively quick because they're just a few seconds.
Yeah.
I heard your name on that one, and
Yeah. And this one.
Oh shit, we came up by the sinks this time.
You got up to me here right before. Oh shit! I keep looking up by the.
I'll play both of them again.
Oh shit, we came up by the sinks this time.
Yeah, because it's where we're at.
That one you almost have to put your earpiece in on the second one to hear.
Yeah, that one. I was gonna say that one was a little more tougher to hear from my end because I'm not wearing earbuds.
To me, it almost sounds like I got skills or I got kills or something. But
the first one though, I could hear like even just the that's what I was.
Of course, I'm a little overweight, so I breathe heavy, so I got to take that into consideration too. But
yeah. What about you, Lugger? Were you able to hear anything clearly?
He showed it to me the other day.
Oh,
I heard a little bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
And then
pretty
I played the Kevin one for you too.
He told me a lot about this place. Has more than.
I showed him a lot of the stuff I was showing us tonight.
Yeah, it's just really sad. Just like we were talking earlier about this, it's just really sad to know that they're tearing it down because it's just such an awesome place to go to and investigate.
You know when you're walking, I think it said oh shit.
Sorry, what was that?
It'd be
On
one
the
for the bucket.
second one, I thought it said oh shit. Like you hear Chris and then you
Oh, yeah,
and he goes,
yeah.
oh shit.
There you go. There you go. That could be it. I could never figure out all the words. And I hear something different every time.
Because I've heard my name being called out. What?
Well, I just want to.
One of those
I just want to throw it out to everybody and see what they think. Everybody that's paranormal.
But it's good catch up.
It's like one of those classic examples, like where sometimes you get that one EVP where it sounds clear right at the beginning, you can never figure out exactly what the rest of the sentence is saying. And I do actually have an EVP that I have of something very much like that, where I got the words "I am," and I never figure out the other words from that. And get this, of course, I know you're probably going to make a joke out of this. That was probably, again, the one piece of evidence that I ever received at the youngest age to date. I was only 14 years old when I got
Last
that.
year.
It was back. It was really back in 2007.
Right.
And, I used an old digital recorder for that. Unfortunately, so I would show it now, but unfortunately, because it was like on an old-fashioned digital recorder, which is like one that you can't. I don't know if you could really transfer it onto computers, but I do have. Yep, kind of like that actually. And but I still have that recording to this very day.
Nice.
So just like in a similar circumstance, Chris, like where it says something, but even almost 20 years later, I have not been able to figure out what the rest of those words are.
Yeah. I go through and I listen to everything, and everything I think I hear, I have a notebook right here, and I'll sit here and I'll be like,
I do that all the time.
The label, whatever it is, like session 3, time, what I think it said, and then I let other people, I save it, and then I'll like send it to you, or what do you guys think it said, or I'll bring it to my mom. What did it say?
Yeah.
Because my mom's a total believer, so she'll like, oh, that's your name.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then I'm like, okay, I know it said, he thinks it said my name, it said it.
Yeah. Because we did one we were at the 3-day roundhouse. And I'm going through footage and I'm like, hang on a sec. And you actually hear something go, no, like, because we're in such, we're in like such
I thought I got in a church, I asked it something like, I don't believe in Jesus, or something like that. And I got a response, but it was the investigator behind me whispering instead of talking normal. And I was just like, man, I was so mad, because it was like a full sentence response to that.
Yeah, you get all excited and then that happens.
Yeah. And I dude, listen to what I caught, and he's like, oh, that was me saying it. And I was like,
that happened to me. I don't know if I told you guys about this before. I've told this to so many people, but either way, it's so funny when you hear about this. There was one time that we investigated, again, over a decade ago, we investigated this location that was called the Rossville Opera House, again in Rossville, Illinois, which is like north central Illinois. Sadly, I don't know if they're doing investigations anymore. If they haven't, it's been several years because sadly the guy who owned the Opera House passed away a number of years ago. So we only ever got to investigate it twice. And little history on that one is that although it did operate as an opera house, it was in some way, shape, or form also a Masonic lodge. So a lot of the Freemasons were known to go there and perform their rituals, but they also ran it as an opera house, kind of like not as a charity, but in a way to make money off of it, so it can keep things going for their opera house. So like maintenance work or whatever. Yeah. And but anyways, the first investigation that we had, the guy who owned it, his name was Dave, and again, I was really good friends with him for a couple of years before he passed away, and I still recall that I was sitting down. I mean, again, it's like shortly after I met him, it's like we just became good friends very quickly, and I spent half the investigation chatting with him about all this different history stuff because he really was into a lot of it. But at one point, so I'm sitting with him and I'm talking with him, And one of the other investigators, he literally comes running down the stairs and runs out to the front. And he's like, "Guys, you got to check this out. I got a figure, like I got like a cowboy or something like that. He's actually holding a gun or something like that." And of course, like a few of us, including me, back then I was, because again, I was still relatively young doing this stuff. I was excited
Right.
too, and he shows me the picture. He shows me the picture, and at that point, I mean, I look at it. I look at the picture first, and then I look back at him. I was like, "Dude, that's me." That was me standing there. I was like, you can't possibly expect me to believe this. That's clearly me standing out in the room, because it was one of those like large rooms, like brick wall rooms, and there was like a big light like shining or something like that, and it casted a shadow basically. I was like, "Hey, you can't possibly expect me to believe that's clearly me standing there, and I'm wearing my paranormal hat and the supposed gun, because he says it's holding a gun. The supposed gun that's in the figure's hand, that was me holding my phone."
Yeah, that's he must have broke the news to him pretty hard.
I don't know, because
Great picture, mate,
it was like I said, it was a decade. It was back in 2013 we went. So honestly, I don't really remember exactly how he reacted when I had to be totally honest with him, but it was still a funny turnout.
Oh man!
If you had a good laugh about it, that's awesome. I hate people get all mad when you like debunk their evidence.
That's what I was talking about earlier. That sometimes we have to debunk our stuff before we can present the data and evidence.
And I don't care if you film, just like that picture I showed. Y'all, it's debunked or not. That's awesome either way. But I don't get mad. Okay, I mean, because that just tells me, you know.
When I talked about, again, like the footage that I was talking about, I was even saying, I forgot to mention this. I mean, when I was sending this to some of the hardcore skeptics of what I got from the Lake County jail, I often used to say numerous times, I was like, tell me something good about this footage, break my heart completely in two in disappointment. I mean, I was almost daring that, if you will. So, like, make that happen, but they never did.
The footage right now, but the door that opens in the basement at the cabin. Sorry, Nikki, and how do you debunk that? I don't know if you've seen it, but how do you debunk that?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you've seen it, because he probably showed it to you while you were there.
I probably
did.
I'm
hearing you.
I'm going to show this next link that you sent me, Nikki. So give me 1 second here.
Which one? Is it the dog? Oh,
it might be. Well, give me a second here while I'm.
The YouTube one, Nikki.
I thought it was a video. Yeah, is this a doll?
Oh no.
Wow. So what's going on in this picture right here?
So this lovely picture is the dog of the K2. You know how I was talking about it before, that it could have been paranormal, but there is electrical wires underneath it. Well, not underneath it, but below the next level. So we're kind of like, it may be paranormal, but it's likely not to be. That's a cool photo. But in the photo, it kind of looks like it's morphing. If you want to put up on big screen.
Sorry, I forgot to add this to the scene. Sorry about that again.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Some host, jeez.
Yeah,
like
really.
If you zoom in, it looks like a baby. Oh my god.
See, when I first saw this, I was under the impression that this was a video, but then I looked at it and I realized something. Oh wait, no, it's not a video. It's a screenshot.
If you zoom in, it looks like it's morphing.
That's an interesting picture.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it looks like it's morphing, yeah? Or am I just seeing stuff?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It really is.
The green light.
You've got these dolls lying around. I'm like, if any of these dolls move, I'm out of this building. I was like, I will do cemeteries, I'll do haunted houses, I will do whatever, but dolls, no. And I'm like, I'm going to come up here, put K down, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm down those stairs and running.
That still is a creepy picture either way.
It kind of looks like an alien too, in a way.
Yeah.
You know what? It kind of does a little bit. Now that you said that. All right,
Just in my mind, that what's it called, where you see faces and everything, and
yeah.
Pareidolia, whatever.
Don't show my. Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to.
Yeah. So this one is actually not a roundhouse. This place is tight. Like we literally have Nick would even fit in there if he laid down.
I was gonna say it looks really tight.
Yeah, so it's literally Nika, she's on the
Nick.
floor. I'm standing above Nika, and then I've got James, and he's kind of like morphed behind me. So that's how tight we are. And I think it's like, please stand. She's doing SDs, and it's like, please stand up, Nick. And I'm like, what's my full name, please? And then it's like, Nikki, can you please stand up? So like, okay, stand up. And then it goes, medium, please step out. So I'm like, do you want me to leave? And then I hear behind me, I hear it go, no, like, beg your pardon. And then I'll walk out, and it goes, come back in again. And then we're doing SDs, and then you constantly hear like, yeah. And then the door slams, and we're just like, I believe that's wind, but
I'm sorry, guys.
Guys, are you seeing the actual video itself?
No.
Okay, yeah, that because I was checking right now. Damn it. Okay, hang on. Let me try this one more time.
I don't know how long this video we would go for because
Damn it, hit my ball.
It's a pretty long one.
What was that, Nikki?
I said viewers beware because there is a spoiler at the very start. She does swear.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she's like, well, okay,
hang on. Let's try this. Oh wait, it was because I forgot to click on the YouTube link. Okay, now can you guys see anything?
No.
It's down on bottom right now, but yeah.
Oh, it's on the bottom. Okay.
No,
here we go. Okay, here we go.
I'll point you out. I'll go like that.
Yeah, you're right though. This place is really tight looking. Like someone could barely fit into it.
Reminds me of the chart room.
Nikki, I'm sorry. And Mike's getting crinkly again. There we go.
He's here. Do you know the journey?
Ooh.
Oh, look at that.
I know, I noticed that too.
Yeah, you saw it too? Okay.
Really bad interference coming through.
Yeah.
I'm not on Twitch. I can't do the cut paste thing.
Oh, okay, he has his headphones in. Okay, I was wondering why I couldn't hear the SB7.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing the SS method. Okay.
That's kind of what I figured. It looks like the SS method to me.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I'm seeing a lot of dust though now too. So.
Pretty dusty.
Kind of got used to seeing that, looking at Abby videos.
Right.
What's your name? My name's James.
But that.
Okay, I saw that one.
Yeah, I saw it too.
That orb just went up. Yeah, I saw that one.
It just like appeared in the middle and went up.
Yeah, it wasn't a dust particle, that's for sure.
No.
It shot up.
Yep.
In about 30 seconds, you'll hear it.
Okay.
Now. Frozen. You cold?
Damn fireworks.
got this away.
Let us know why you're putting this right.
Now, we were told there was something about a doctor in here.
Look left.
There?
Over there.
Ooh.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
I thought there was something there. I was like, holy shit.
I thought so too. I really thought. I thought there was something standing there, but yeah.
When I spin around, you'll hear the hiss and you'll be amazing good.
Okay.
I'll mute when it happens before it happens. Yeah.
Excuse me, guys. On the 18th of January, 1831. Wow.
Best way to be. Finally.
This is another one.
Yeah, legend comes from. Who's the legend?
You won.
No need for insults, but
Did you kill a pig?
what were you here for?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You did kill a pig. Is that why you were here?
Is that flashlight moving or is it just going up and down with the brightness? I had to ask.
Did you touch that thing on the floor with the red light?
Oh, it's the flashlight. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think so.
Okay, I was just double checking because.
Yeah, ooh, grandpa.
This place is so tiny. My car's going to cost us a bit.
Right there.
Okay, I saw that one. That was definitely hard.
Can't find the right, huh?
So it wasn't a dust particle because the way it just appeared and then disappeared.
Precisely.
Right.
There's definitely something there.
Yeah, there is.
Already.
Get ready.
Stay still.
I'm just going to turn around and do it.
Is everyone in here?
And I don't even know if we're supposed to be looking for something or just watching in general.
Well, I definitely have noticed, like the rest of you guys, there's definitely something that's been. I've seen a couple.
I've seen orbs.
Movement.
For sure.
And what if he's tapped me on the hand just so that you know his door open?
Give your stuff now.
Okay, thank you.
Did it stop it?
Get under there.
Yeah, you can take this out.
Okay.
So just before this bit, when to the like, can someone reach out and let me know to the girl? You hear someone go, and and then you hear James, and I'll go, James, my apology, look at the hand out. And my husband goes, you can actually see form right there in James's hand, and then James's hand goes red.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is like visual and hearing. So yeah, on our page you'll probably be able to hear it a little bit better. That's the views. I'll let you guys continue. Go for it, Nick.
Wow. And remind me again, Nikki, where was this again?
So this is at Fremantle Roundhouse, and this is in one of the cells. So we actually didn't know too much information about this cell until we walked out, and I was just like, "Hey, is that a guy with the red beard and moustache that used to be in there?" And the guy looked at me and he was like, "Yeah, that was one of the prisoners in there." So, yeah. And he loved me. Yeah, he loved me in there for some reason. You want to try it again, Nick? Yeah. You might be able to do it.
Those are some really interesting videos that you brought to us, Nikki. I gotta say that's really cool. I mean, I'm really impressed with what you guys captured.
Yeah, if you want to have a look on the Paranormal Quest page, it might actually be better because obviously you can turn up the volume and stuff and you'll be able to hear it.
Just a little.
Because I walked in and I'm like, okay, And then I'm like, he goes, Nikki, I'm
Open
like, yes,
tree.
what do I do? Like, oh, please stand up somewhere.
Yeah, it's always every now and then you just have that occur. Like, that just seems like a typical thing that happens sometimes during the investigations.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been told F off.
trespassing is
That's
bad.
evidence never checked. It always happens before I'm set up.
Yeah, I've been told F off. They called one of my investigators a mole. Yeah, yeah. They weren't happy that night. Whoever was there. But I was just like, hey, we come with peace and respect. And they're like, we know. And then the guy that let us investigate, he's never done escalators before, and we can't tell him. His face just stood up. He's like, holy cow.
Right.
Nick, this is the longest time we've been on the show for.
Yeah, we've been on now for exactly 2.5 hours, I have to admit.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it
You guys
is.
were on there a while.
Yeah, we have. Although I was going to say at some point we'll probably have to end soon because it's already 11 o'clock
Yeah.
over here. I got a
I'm getting
big
hungry.
day ahead of me tomorrow because obviously with being 4th of July and stuff, I got to do a few other things before I call it a night.
You're gonna party.
Yeah, it's already 7 minutes after 11 o'clock.
I'm doing nothing.
What's only 12? It's 12:01 a.m. on a Friday. So happy 4th of July, you guys.
Yeah, you guys are ahead. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just out of curiosity,
Actually,
because I know I'm going to assume that out in Australia you guys have your own Independence Day too, right?
yes, we do. Yeah.
And when,
A lot of people don't celebrate it.
well, I was going to say, and when is usually your the Independence Day over there?
Australia Day is the 26th of.
August 26th.
I don't celebrate it, so I think it's the 26th of January.
That's 2 days you keep having cake space.
26th of January it is. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was it?
26th of January.
Oh,
personally, I don't
wow.
celebrate
You guys,
it.
your Independence Day is right at the beginning of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
They just saved the
Personally,
fireworks.
I don't celebrate it.
Even if you don't celebrate it, do they, just out of curiosity, do they still do like fireworks and stuff over there for the Independence Day? Or?
Yeah, so over here we call it Australia Day. A lot of people will celebrate it, but personally, I think the date should be changed just because on that date of what happened to that original people and the history. Personally, I don't think it should be changed because it was the day that Australia was founded and they slaughtered all that original people.
Right. No, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
I reckon it should be on the 8th of March.
Oh, March 8th, okay.
Yeah, I reckon. Make day.
What I was going to say, too, I kind of figured, up until now, I wasn't sure when you guys had yours. I was thinking to myself, too, that this would have had to have been a big year for Australia because I know, or is it next year? Because I know Australia gained its independence in 1901, and so wouldn't it be the 125th anniversary for it this year, or would that be for next year? Yeah, I think it's next year that I think Australia turns 125 years. I'm not always good with math all the time.
Right. When I'm driving, I use my Google all the time. I'll be like, subtract 320 or something, and let it do it.
Yeah. I've already been here for 40 years, so. Actually, no, that's a lie. I've been here for 38 years. I can't remember when I was 2. Yeah. I say I'm from imported ingredients.
Oh.
Because I'm not Australian, so I wasn't born here, so.
Right, exactly.
I'm originally from Vietnam.
Well, just out of curiosity, I mean, Chris, you kind of already answered the question, but Lurker, what do you got? Any special plans for 4th of July yourself?
Work.
Work.
Poor Lurker.
Double
He's been
time.
at work all day.
That's
Hopefully you get that double time for it.
That's gonna
Yeah, I
be
think it's that time we have. What the? That was not very good.
Not my job. You work any holiday. Doesn't matter.
That's going to be kind of somewhat like two of us because I'm going to be working tomorrow too, but I only work a morning
And
shift.
then I got to deal with the birthday party at my workplace, and then I have to deal with people celebrating and popping. Oh my lord!
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I think we're going to call that night, people.
I'm going to be in a
job. I would be working tomorrow.
I'm going to be in a mood tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm
as
not
far
gonna
as I
be
know.
I think we're going to call it night, Mom.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Because everyone's stoner.
It's like this. Save us all.
If that time is like, you know when you do an investigation, you start going loopy? Because you've been up so late? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as 4th of July for me tomorrow, yeah, like I said, I got to work, but as usual, I only work an 8 to 1 shift, so I'll be out by the afternoon. You got some of my extended family coming out. Of course, a couple of my friends are also coming out too, and then we're supposed to go out to this area called Gallery Park, which is just a few minutes away from where I live, and we're supposed to have some, we're supposed to have a really good fireworks show over there, so that should be fun.
Lucky. I have to work 2 to 10. I have to work 2 p.m. till 10 p.m.
Oh man.
Well, I will give you a little bit of not for me, but I actually did have a real good friend of mine. She was supposed to come out tomorrow, but unfortunately, she just started a new job. And typically, like when it comes to new jobs, most likely they have to work on those holidays. And sadly, she has to. As much as I'd love for her to be over here, she can't this time. So
Is Kate coming over, Nick?
What's that?
Is Kate coming over?
I don't think so, but I was, I've been meaning to ask her if she and her family had any plans for 4th of July. Because like I said, if you guys have nothing going on, you guys are more than welcome to come over here and, hang out with us. And you have, obviously you want to bring your daughter with too, it's fine. And, but I didn't have the opportunity. So it might already be too late to ask already.
All right. Okay, I'll be over there tomorrow.
Be over tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp.
We'll leave tomorrow at 9 a.m.
All right, guys, on that note, I'm calling it.
Yeah.
He's calling it.
Did you want to do the exit?
Do the what?
The exit. You know how we normally do
the exit. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do the exit. Just before we go, do you have any ideas of what you want to do next time, Nikki?
So Vera's on holidays for 2 weeks, so there'll be no show for 2 weeks, but we'll be back. And
That's
we pretty much do what we do.
Because next week I'm also going to be on holiday myself. I'm taking a week of vacation from my job, so I'm getting a well-deserved rest. So in a way, Nikki, that makes 2 of us. So, but yeah, Chris, Lurker, thank you guys once again so much for coming on. Braxton's still been here this whole time. Check that out.
Braxton's been here.
Thanks, Braxton.
Thanks, Braxton.
But yeah, for everyone who's been watching, I know we didn't get a huge chat for those who have been watching. In this case, Braxton. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And of course, again, Chris and Lurker, I'm sure we'll have you guys on again real soon. Again, I'm still working my way of trying to get you on some of the other shows, Lurker, as a guest. So I'll definitely keep you updated on that.
Yeah, no worries, no rush, man. Take all the time you need.
And thanks again, Braxton. Welcome to all. So for
have a happy and safe trip, everybody.
Anthony Lewis. Anthony, oh God, now all the comments are coming in. Yeah, there was Nikki's been having a lot of static.
All late.
But
Yep.
for
I'm getting
everyone
power
who's
pole.
but yeah, thanks again for everybody who's contributing. Thanks again, Chris and Lurker, and in this case for everybody for the U.S. Have a great and happy 4th of July, and we'll see you guys
Stay
again
safe.
real. We'll see you guys again real soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Hungry time.